for being here. Thanks for subscribing. We're live for the second time today. Like the video as you guys come in. Like the video as you guys come in. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Allow me a few moments to get into the system to do my disclaimer. Tuning in to Let's Talk About It Media 21. I don't know if other people are experiencing it. I'm kind of seeing it for some. I don't know. Some of the numbers are slowing down for a lot of people. I see it. I notice a great deal. So allow me a few minutes to get into my system to update everything. I notice it on some people's pages, not all people's pages, but yeah, the numbers are slowing down. So I would imagine YouTube probably paid a lot in regards to all the Diddy stuff, and I'm sure they had to write hefty checks. Yeah. So let's see. And I still got to figure some of my stuff out because what others are being paid, I'm not seeing those same numbers. Copyright disclaimer: under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarships and research. Fair use is use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All comments are alleged in our opinion and for entertainment purposes only. Yeah, it seems like a lot of people's numbers are slowing down for some odd reason. I'm noticing it for myself. Averaging almost, it was last month, almost 500K in 1 month, but now it's not that. It's not even close to that. So I don't know what's going on, but like the video as you guys come in. Let's go ahead and get straight into some news. Fair use reaction clip.
Today, Trump suggested he may pull federal funding for the reconstruction of the collapsed Francis Scott. President Trump has escalated his feuds with Democratic-run cities and states over threats of military deployments. Today, Trump suggested he may pull federal funding for the reconstruction of the collapsed Francis Scott Key Bridge over in Baltimore. In a series of Truth Social posts, the president attacked Maryland Governor Wes Moore's record of crime and tied bridge funding in Los Angeles in response to immigration protests there.
Like the video as you guys come in. I gotta do something else. Like the videos you guys come in. Like the videos you guys come in. I don't know. It seems like that had music.
I've discussed this many times. I am not a lawyer, but when I heard what Todd Blanche said, non-consensual, when she seemed to be struggling for a word, I never saw anything that was. What do you make of that in terms of the number 2 person at the DOJ doing an interview with a convicted criminal?
That question is, to me, there are multiple instances in this interview in which Todd Blanche attempts to fill in the gaps for Ghislaine Maxwell. There are also moments where her own attorneys attempt to fill in those gaps and sort of direct the questioning. That's not that unusual where you have an attorney, where you have a proffer session with somebody that you're thinking about entering into a cooperation agreement with, for example. What makes this so unusual is not only that Todd Blanche is President Trump's former criminal defense lawyer, but that Ghislaine Maxwell herself has long ago been convicted and is on a last-ditch appeal to the Supreme Court, and barring that, is sort of auditioning for a pardon. That's what makes this so unusual. And in particular, she struggles with the word inappropriate at various times in the interview as well, because she says herself, her definition of inappropriate might be different than somebody else's definition of inappropriate. And when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein's behavior with women over the age of 18, she specifically draws a line and says she's not going to get into that, almost as if to say anything with anyone over 18 is outside of bounds, and the only thing she thinks could possibly be illegal here is conduct with those who are underage. That's not the way law sees it. You can sex traffic somebody who is over the age of 18. We saw that, for example, very recently in the P. Diddy trial. So understanding of the law is at best immature, and she's not really challenged on it during the course of the interview.
Sarah, the Washington Post notes that the release of the Maxwell interview, and I'm quoting them, offered no evidence to support conspiracy theories long fanned by Trump and his allies that the federal government had covered up a vast sex trafficking ring to protect powerful public figures. And yet there are some far-right influencers who appear to be pleased with this. They called it, at least one called it a good first step. Another argued the leftist narrative is in shambles. Do you think that this will help the story that Trump has wanted to go away with his base?
Well, it's interesting that way back when, a couple months ago, Pam Bondi herself said that she had the Epstein list on her desk. And so now fast forward to today, where you have Trump out there saying this is a hoax, and they're releasing just, portions of files and these transcripts and trying to prove that there was no wrongdoing on his part. But him and his supporters were out there on the campaign trail, folks like Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, saying that they wanted to release the Epstein files. And so it's just a contradiction from everything that they had been talking about. So they either have to admit, were they lying to their voters, or are they now part of a cover-up? And I do think, though, that they have ran out the clock a bit on this issue. It does seem like they're using the Steve Bannon strategy, where they flood the zone and make it impossible for the media and Democrats to keep talking about this issue when there's so much else going on, and that they've been able to release selectively enough of the files that maybe it might quiet down the base. But at the end of the day, I hope that this issue doesn't go away, because these survivors deserve justice and deserve to have all of this information out there while protecting their identities.
Sarah, efforts to quash this ongoing story, whether you're flooding the zone or you're putting out some of the information about it, may hit a roadblock in October, because that's when the publication of a prominent Epstein victim, Virginia Giuffre's posthumous memoir, comes out. The publisher says it has intimate, disturbing, and heartbreaking new details about her time with both Epstein and Maxwell and their many well-known friends. But they also say no allegation of wrongdoing against Donald Trump. So what might be the political implications for Donald Trump of that, even if he is in no way mentioned as having done anything wrong?
Well, we know that Virginia Giuffre was recruited by Ghislaine Maxwell while she was working at Mar-a-Lago. And Trump said that part of the reason that him and Jeffrey Epstein had a falling out was because they were poaching people from his club. Now, we know that Jeffrey Epstein does not have a club of his own. And so it leads one to believe that Donald Trump knew exactly why these young women were being poached and what they were being used for. And so I do think that her book coming out is going to be an issue for the administration and for Donald Trump, who desperately wants this issue to go away.
Well, Lisa, Giuffre's family has called on the DOJ to do its job, in their words, by investigating and holding accountable the many rich and powerful people who enabled Maxwell's and Epstein's crimes. I want to play just a little more of Maxwell from that interview.
If I didn't make it clear, I will reiterate that I never, ever saw any man doing something inappropriate with a woman of any age.
I read excerpts. I did not read the entire thing, to be honest with you, Lisa. At the end of the day, did Maxwell offer the DOJ or offer the general public anything of real value?
No, I don't think so. I think she offered the Department of Justice something of value, in the sense that she exculpated President Trump very neatly and cleanly in ways that the release of the documents might not be so neat and clean. You have to ask yourself, why is it that we have a transcript that dangles all sorts of names that Ghislaine Maxwell dropped during the interview, and yet we don't have others of the documents because the Department of Justice is supposedly concerned with the impact on third parties? That's puzzling to me. But I will also tell you, Chris, having read the entire thing, one thing that I find particularly troubling is the names of the victims here are redacted, so we can't say for sure who she's talking about. But there's a portion where she says she sort of turned herself off to the stories of multiple victims who came forward, because there was one victim who she felt lied in their civil deposition, and thereafter all the testimonies and all of the accounts of other victims to her were just sort of right, that she didn't want to credit them because she knew that this other victim had lied in her civil deposition. I believe that victim she's talking about is Virginia Giuffre, and so her family is right to be angry about this interview and platforming Ghislaine Maxwell here. What she has given us, to the extent that it has any value, is demonstrating how clearly she will diminish in her own mind the significance of what has happened to let herself off the hook. There are points in time in the interview where she lets you into her frame of mind. Says in the late 90s and early 2000s, we didn't understand men and women's relationships in the way that we do now. We viewed it through this frothy Sex in the City like prism. That's not an excuse for any of the kinds of behavior that the victims have alleged here. And I want to be really clear about that with you and our viewers. Ghislaine Maxwell seems to think that we just understand things differently now. That's really not an adequate explanation for her alleged participation and or witnessing of what went on.
Sarah Matthews, Lisa Rubin, thank you both.
Like the video, fair use, reaction clip. Like the videos, you guys come in. Thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting the channel. Continue to hit the like button. There's only 4 likes. The likes should match the views. Continue to hit the like button. Thank you.
Is very upset about this. Why? Why would he be upset? Because he's worried about tyranny. He says, and so all the talk of Trump sending the National Guard to Chicago, and this is what he had to say.
Well, again, the city of Chicago does not need a military occupied state. That's not who we are. Here's the bottom line: they don't have police power. There's nothing they can do. These are federal troops. They do not go through the training that our police officers go through, so they cannot even enact police authority. We're not going to surrender our humanity to this tyrant. I can tell you this: the city of Chicago has a long history of standing up against tyranny, resisting those who wish to undermine the interests of working people. We're not going to back down. We're not going to cower. We're not going to bend. We're not going to break. We are Chicago. We are the soul of America, and we will maintain that posture from now until.
We can have all kinds of debates, constitutional debates, all kinds of debates about sending federal troops into cities like this. But to worry about tyranny and not be concerned about the tyranny of lawlessness and the tyranny of crime that all of his residents live under right now.
I just don't understand why they wouldn't want to clean up these cities. I mean, D.C. needed to be cleaned up, and it looks like it has been.
Over 200 people were killed in the past year, and he's beating his chest saying, oh, isn't this great?
93 arrests on Saturday, and out of those, 46 were illegal aliens, and that's in D.C. But fine, you don't want them, send them to New York, please. Please, Donald Trump, send them here, clean up these streets.
Right.
I welcome it.
Yeah, I don't know anybody who goes to Chicago and says, this is the soul of America. They go to Chicago and go, this city used to be great.
Right.
And our mayor is so terrible. He's got, I believe, I was just looking it up, he's got 26% approval rating. That's pretty horrendous. That's so awful, it's hard to imagine. In a huge Democratic city that put him in office, they are predominantly beside themselves with this ineptness. So President Trump's going to come in, and it's going to be a hostile situation. I kind of feel bad for the National Guard because they're going to get some pushback. But, I bet you the cops on the street will love it. So I just think now, I know the Secretary of Defense allowed the National Guard to carry guns in D.C. now. So I hope they are able to defend themselves and are not targeted in Chicago because it's extremely dangerous. In Maryland, Wes Moore challenged President Trump to walk the streets with him. And Trump basically says, watch your mouth, clean up your city, and don't worry about me walking through the city. And when Wes Moore goes out there and talks about how great Baltimore is, you might think things are heading in the right direction. That's what you say. You don't say Baltimore is a city that is not ridden and overrun with crime. It looks like the city that was once great, but isn't anymore.
And you know what's kind of interesting about every single one of these, whether it's Brandon Johnson or Wes Moore, they complain about everything that Donald Trump is doing, but their party and their policies have governed those cities for decades.
The president today, executive order, getting rid of cashless bail.
Yes,
in places
front
like
page
that.
of the Post.
And they're going to sue
How
back
great is
when
that?
they bring this forward.
Bail and farewell.
And my question is, if you don't like the idea of what Trump is doing, name for me one single solution, one single idea that is going to be different, that is going to change the situation, and nobody has.
Well, people in Maryland and Baltimore, they can't sell their houses. Remember we talked about this a few weeks ago. There was an article, they interviewed residents who used to live in really thriving, beautiful neighborhoods. Kids could go outside, they could have picnics outside, they could sit on their front porches, and the people can't sell their houses because right across the street were people selling drugs.
Right. And by the way, they had a panel on ABC talking about DC crime, and it's always teens to lean left. Not this time. Rachel Bates said, no, it's really bad. I left the city because they broke into my car one time too many. So it's people that live in D.C., even if they don't vote for Trump, are saying, I cannot sit here with a straight face and tell you there's not a crime problem.
Well, we will have a familiar face to you, U.S. Attorney for D.C. Janine Shapiro, up at 8:20 this morning. I'm Steve Doocy. I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart.
Like the video, fair use, reaction clip. Continue to hit the like button, everyone. Thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting the channel. Continue to hit the like button and subscribe button. We're trying to hit 50K. Like the video. Like the video as you guys come in and hit the subscribe button. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Say that because you're radical left. The newspapers are so dishonest. The press is totally dishonest, but that's all right. We've got used to it. And we won in a landslide, so they obviously lost their power. I mean, it's impossible to imagine that when you get 97% negative stories, purposely negative stories, even though you've done 97% positive things, that they could, that you could win an election in a landslide, winning all 7. Think of it, all 7 swing states, winning by the popular vote by millions of votes. We had it fantastic. The best is your districts. Out of 3,000 districts, I guess we won 3,500. We won 2,750. And they won 500. And that's, to me, the best of all. And we had tremendous in every way, the election. And it's hard to believe you can do that when you have a corrupt media. But many of you are corrupt, and there's nothing we can do about it. But we keep winning, and we're going to keep winning. And this whole story on crime is incredible that the Democrats wouldn't be with us. So the mayor of Chicago, I watched him this morning, he said, Trump doesn't know what he's talking about. He only apprehended 9 people. Well, number one, that's false. It's thousands who get into that. But more importantly than anything, we took guns away. We have some of the worst career professionals out of the country already. They've been taken out of the country, and some are in solid confinement because these were killers. We arrested some very bad people. And in the last 11 days, again, I hate to say it because it sounds so ridiculous, but in the last 11 days, we've had no murders. And that's the first time that's taken place in years. We always have a murder a week. They call it a murder a week. You come here from Iowa, you come here from Indiana, you come here from Idaho, because you're so proud of your country, you love your country, and then you get murdered. Your son gets murdered, your daughter gets murdered, you get murdered. See the media, you get murdered. Many of you have been mugged in Washington, you just don't want to talk about it. And I know that every time I do this with you, you almost everything, but every time I do this with you, people are saying to yourselves, he's right, and then you write a negative story. But we are doing an incredible job. The people behind me are amazing. We're working very well with the Washington police, as you know. The D.C. National Guard is unbelievable. We're also getting tremendous help from Secret Service. And we are at a point where Washington is booming again. People are pouring in like we haven't seen for years. Nobody wanted to come here. They didn't want to come here and get murdered. I have a friend of mine who is a very successful son. And I said, where is your son going to be this weekend? He said, he's going to Washington with his friends. I said, really? Yeah, he's wanted to do it for 4 years, but he couldn't do it because it was so unsafe. And he's a tough kid, too. He's so unsafe. And he ended up staying 3 nights, going out to restaurants all 3 nights. He said it was so beautiful because all the criminals are either arrested or they're hiding. And we're finding the ones that are hiding. So I want to thank Pam Bondi. I want to thank our vice president. I want to thank everybody standing behind me because they are really, Yadi, you've been unbelievable, by the way. They have done an unbelievable job. They're working 24 hours a day. And Washington, D.C. is now in great shape. I'm going to be working with Clark Construction, which is by far your biggest construction company. And we're going to beautify Washington. We're going to rip down the broken medians, fix them. We're going to put asphalt on the roads. We're not ripping them apart like these stupid people do. They rip a road down to the dirt, and then they spend 5 years in building the new one, and then it starts settling. You know, the whole thing is so crazy. And they'll spend hundreds of millions of dollars on a road. I'll spend about $2, and it'll look better. So we're going to be replacing medians. We're going to be replacing much of the asphalt in the road, which is in the city, which is in bad shape. We have great stripers. We have great contractors, but we have to let them do the thing. The Congress has said that they'll give us whatever money is needed to fix up the Capitol. This is the Capitol. And we're not going to spend a lot. It's going to go fast, and it will be spotless. And we want it spotless for the World Cup and for the Olympics. You saw the World Cup was here the other day. And come to think of it, there's your trophy for the World Cup. In fact, it's solid gold. That's actually solid gold, so heavy that some of the people in this room wouldn't be able to lift it up. I think what I'm going to do is place it right above the angel, right over there. That's solid gold, too. We're going to put it right up there. Look at that. There's a solid gold trophy. They know how to get to me, you know. I like the angel better, to be honest with you. So we're going to sign, and then we'll take a few questions, and we'll tell you how good a job we're doing. We want to go from here to other places, but I was telling some of the people that in a certain way, you really want to be asked to go. You know, I hate to barge in on a city and then be treated horribly by corrupt politicians and bad politicians, like a guy like Pritzker. You got to spend more time in the gym, actually. This guy is a disaster. Gavin Newsom's a disaster. When we went, we saved Los Angeles. You wouldn't have been able to have the Olympics in Los Angeles. You're barely able to have it now. They did lose 25,000 houses to a fire that should have never occurred because they didn't let the water come down from the Pacific Northwest, which you guys don't want to write about. I had to break into the water supply to let the water down. And even now, we want more. We can have much more. It's less than half of what should be coming in. I don't know, they have a political thing about it. It's like the craziest thing I've ever seen. But I don't like going to a town, a city, place, a state, and then be criticized by some corrupt or incompetent governor where crime is rampant. Like, take a look at D.C. Crime was rampant. It was at the all-time worst. It got really bad during the Biden 4 years. And then I have a mayor stand up and say how crime has reached a 30-year low. 30-year low. People are being killed left and right. And it's not a 30-year low. Think of it. So for 11 days, there have been no murders. The record goes back years where that's happened. They haven't seen that happen in years. And then people stand up, and instead of thanking us, which they should do, and she's not that bad. She's better than most. But, you know, you have people, I watched in Illinois. Chicago, Illinois is a disaster. I have property there. It's a disaster what's going on in Chicago. and you get a Pritzker guy, he's violating our rights. I think this is another men and women's sports thing. I think this is one of those, they call them 80-20 issues. I call them 97-3. I think the Democrats better get smart. And, politically, I hope they don't. But actually, in terms of love for the country, I hope they do, because it'll be good to work together. So I'm thinking about, when I have some slob like Pritzker criticizing us before we even go there, I made the statement that next should be Chicago, because, as you all know, Chicago's a killing field right now. And they don't acknowledge it. And they say, we don't need him. Freedom, freedom. He's a dictator. He's a dictator. A lot of people are saying maybe we like a dictator. I don't like a dictator. I'm not a dictator. I'm a man with great common sense and a smart person. And when I see what's happening to our cities, and then you send in troops, instead of being praised, they're saying you're trying to take over the republic. These people are sick. But I'm really saying, and I say this to all of you, in a certain way, we should wait to have cities that are so under control, out of control. So we go in and fix it. They take the full credit for it, and they go out and say, I heard it this morning. They're saying how well they've done over the last 10-day period, that they set record lows. They don't say that we're there with very tough people, by the way. They have to pass the toughness test. Otherwise, they're not working for us. So, and we're allowed to do that now, according to the United States Supreme Court decision. Now, they have to pass the toughness test. If they're not tough, we don't want them for this job. They're great for other jobs, but not for this job, because they're respected. You saw the gang of kids who were all huddled up, and the group of soldiers walked up. They never even got over. Those kids ran back to their homes or wherever the hell they came from. They were gone. This is one of the safest cities right now in the world, as crazy as that sounds. And it took 7 days. It took really 3 days. But we're now in our 11th day. So I want to thank you. So we had all of these things, 439 illegal alien criminals have been removed. And we have 6 known gang members, some of the worst leaders of gangs anywhere in the country, MS-13 and Tren de Aragua. With 2 missing children that have been recovered. They thought they were gone. We brought them back to the family. The family started crying. They couldn't believe that they saw their child again. 49 homeless encampments have been removed. Like we have the head of South Korea coming in a little while, the president, and he drives down the street. Already his people have told me, he said, what happened? It's so clean. We always came here, it was filthy dirty with homeless and papers all over the road. That's the other thing. Those roads are swept immaculate. But they're going to be much better in a few months when we put a topping on them. They're going to look like they're brand new. We'll get rid of those rusty old medians that have been crashed into 1,000 times, and they don't fix them. They just let them. They lay them down on the road, and they sit there for months. But we don't do that. We don't run things. We run things like we run this. We like clean, we like beautiful, we like safe, and that's what we're getting. So I'll start signing the executive orders. To me, this is a very, very big deal. One of the executive orders has to do with cashless bail. That was when the big crime in this country started. And I can tell you who did it, when, but I don't want to do that because others followed pretty quickly. But that was when it happened. Somebody kills somebody, they go in, don't worry about it, no cash, come back in a couple of months, we'll give you a trial. You never see the person again. And I mean, they kill people and they get out. Cashless bail. They thought it was discriminatory to make people put up money because they just killed 3 people lying on the street. Any street, all over the country, cashless bail. We're ending it, but we're starting by ending it in D.C., and that we have the right to do through federalization. Okay, let's go. Could I ask you to say exactly what this is?
Of course. So, as you've consistently identified, sir, cashless bail policies are a key driver of the disorder we see on city streets all over America. Catch and release system allows criminals to keep going back out onto the street and reoffending. What this executive order does, it charges your attorney general with identifying jurisdictions all over the country that have cashless bail policies, and then it withholds or revokes federal funds and grants that are flowing to those jurisdictions to ensure that we're only supporting the people who have reasonable common sense policies around crime.
So what area?
Good afternoon.
Potentially anywhere that has a cashless bail policy. So some of the largest cities, some of the most left-wing states in America have adopted. Illinois would be a great example.
Yes, sir. Oh, they have a great cashless bail. You don't even have to go to court sometimes. No, Illinois, I love that state. It's a great state, but it's run so badly by Pritzker. They throw him out of the family business, and he becomes governor.
Like the video, fair use reaction clip. There's about 152 in the building. Please hit the subscribe button. We're trying to hit 50K by next month. Please hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification. We're trying to hit 50K by next month.
Right here, right? Sir.
Fair use reaction clip.
So important. And this isn't Republican, Democrat. This is, and by the way, most Democrats agree with this. But this is just, we got to bring our country back. Okay? That's a big one.
Also on the issue of cashless bail, sir, this is a D.C.-specific executive order. In addition to the measures that we're taking that are quite similar to what we're doing around the country, in D.C. in particular, the objective is holding as many criminal defendants in federal custody and subjecting them to federal charges as possible. That means that they'll be held pre-trial in federal jail as opposed to just being cut back out on the streets due to a cashless bail policy.
Okay. And we have the room. And by the way, the prison they have in DC is horrible. It's horrible. People were sent to live in that dog trap for so long, so unfairly. I have stories you'll be hearing about them. The prison is horrible. Okay.
This is an executive order that contains a number of additional measures relating to crime and law enforcement in Washington, D.C. It charges, for example, your Secretary of Defense with establishing specialized units in both the D.C. National Guard and the National Guard units around the country, specifically trained and equipped to deal with public order issues. It charges all of your various federal law enforcement agencies with hiring additional personnel to allow them to surge personnel to Washington, D.C. to deal with the current emergency here. It does a number of other things in that space, and it also asks the Attorney General to look at D.C. Metropolitan Police general orders that have currently impeded law enforcement efforts in the city, and to potentially look at unwinding those that are stopping the police from doing their job effectively.
And are we going to ask this to be codified by Congress, all of these things?
I think we could potentially, yes, sir.
I think so. I think we should. I think we'll get it. I think Democrats will vote. Well, it's hard to believe. They might not, but I think Democrats will actually vote for this. There's no auto pen that can do that. Right? Look at that map. Is that a good signature? Seriously, is that a good signature? Who can write like that? Nobody. I don't know. That's the other thing. I assume we're looking at the whole auto pen scandal. Because the person that ran it said he spoke to him briefly twice about nothing. That means that all those pardons that he gave to some very bad people, very unpatriotic people, very evil people, it looks to me like those pardons are worthless. Because number one, you shouldn't use an auto pen very specifically. But if you do, it has to be a very good reason. And they have to know that the president wanted it. The president didn't want this. The president didn't know he was alive, okay? He never approved any of this stuff. He wasn't for open borders and all the other things. He was never for open borders. I've known Biden a long time. He was never very sharp, but he was never in favor of open borders and all of the other things he did to destroy our country. Let's go.
Lastly, sir, this is an executive order on flag burning. It charges your Attorney General.
Would you listen to this? This is very important. Flag burning. All over the country, they're burning flags. All over the world, they burn the American flag. And as you know, through a very sad court, I guess it was a 5-4 decision, they called it freedom of speech. But there's another reason, which is perhaps much more important. It's called death. Because what happens when you burn a flag is the area goes crazy. If you have hundreds of people, they go crazy. You can do other things. You can burn this piece of paper. But when you burn the American flag, it incites riots at levels that we've never seen before. People go crazy. In a way, both ways. There are some that are going crazy for doing it. There are others that are angry about them doing it. Do you want to discuss that?
Sure. So what the executive order does, sir, it charges your Department of Justice with investigating instances of flag burning, and then where there's evidence of criminal activity, where prosecution wouldn't fall afoul of the First Amendment, it instructs the Department of Justice to prosecute those who are engaged in these instances of flag burning.
And what the penalty is going to be, if you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail, no early exits, no nothing. You get 1 year in jail. If you burn a flag, and what it does is incite to riot. I hope they use that language, by the way. Did they? Incite to riot. And you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail. You don't get 10 years, you don't get 1 month. You get 1 year in jail, and it goes on your record. And you will see flag burning stopping immediately, just like when I signed the Statute and Monument Act. 10 years in jail if you hurt any of our beautiful monuments. Everybody left town. They were gone. Never had a problem after that. It's pretty amazing we stopped it. But this is something that's, in a way, it's equally as important. Some people say it's more important. Because the people in this country don't want to see our American flag burned and spit on. And by people that are, in many cases, paid agitators. They're paid by the radical left to do it. You talk to these people, they don't even know, half of them don't even know what they're doing. They say, I don't know, they gave me money to do this. I see the same things that you do. They're bad people that are trying to destroy our nation. That's not working, because our nation now is the most respected nation anywhere in the world by far. You saw that with the European leaders on Friday. You saw that with NATO, where they agreed to go from 2% no pay to 5% fully paid up, trillions of dollars paid, where they respect your president to a level that they jokingly call me the president of Europe. They call me the president of Europe, which is an honor. I like Europe, and I like those people. They're good people. They're great leaders. And we've never had a case where 7 plus really 28, essentially 38 countries were represented here the other day. 38 European countries were European and other countries were represented that was a great meeting. But your country is respected again. I say it all the time. 1 year ago, our country was dead. Everybody said it. We had a dead country. We were not going to survive. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. So it's an honor to be involved. And this group has a lot to do with it right behind me. Does anybody behind me have anything? Pam, would you like to say something?
Sure, President. Thank you for keeping D.C. safe. Just a couple examples of a mother, a single mom, whose house was burglarized, and the defendant got out on cashless bail, went back the next night and burglarized her house again. That's why this is so important. A man got in a fight with another guy. He had a gun. He was let out. Next night, he got out, went back and killed him. So that's why it's so important, President, what you're doing. And thank you for protecting the American flag. And we'll do that without running afoul of the First Amendment as well. And President, I think I think Gabby Serralta had something he wanted to give you on behalf of all the law enforcement who are out there every single night.
Yes, thank you for putting me in charge of this surge as the director of the United States Marshal Service. It's the oldest law enforcement agency. It was created in 1789. So on behalf of all the federal law enforcement agencies that we're working with, those that have yet to join the team, we thought it was only appropriate to present you with an honorary United States Marshal Service badge. And this badge comes with this little item right here, which is a handcuff key, Mr. President, because you continue through your policies and your efforts with your staff to unhandcuff law enforcement officers all over this nation. And I can tell you personally that they thank you for that.
Thank you. That's
So you can continue unhandcuffing law enforcement.
It's a very great honor. I'll save that and put it someplace up, which is important. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Really nice. Thank you. That's very nice. Thank you. Well, we love those people. They're brave and they love our country. They don't want to see. They don't want to see it. Do you know how many people volunteered for this job? And before I ask the VP to say a few words, because he feels very strongly about it, I think it's very important, Pam, that when we do this, that a state required, they come and ask us. I mean, I see Pritzker say, we don't want them. In the meantime, a city is being shot to hell. And they do that politically. And they probably do want it. If we didn't go to Los Angeles, you would literally have had to call off the Olympics. It was so bad. And the sheriff and the law enforcement people, but the sheriff said, and it came out very strongly, he said, if we didn't have these people, we were not able to control it. Now, 4 days later, after we had it totally under control, we did that quickly. He changed his tune a little bit. Well, I think we could have done it. They were dead. If we didn't send in the troops, Los Angeles was dead, the Olympics was gone, the World Cup was gone, everything was gone. We did a great job. And Newsom got he's an incompetent governor. But I think people should want us to be there because otherwise we complain as we do our job. So we'll have to think about that, okay? We go in, like in Washington, we go in and the people that are here that have been doing, I don't want to say terrible because she happens, she's a nice woman. Yes, I don't care about if she's nice. I really don't care. I want her to I'd rather have her be horrible than do the job. But we come into Washington and we have the 11 best days they've had here in 2 centuries. I mean, they've never seen anything like it. Let's go 2 days. In over 20 years, they haven't seen anything like what happened. And now they're out there saying, we don't have crime in Washington. Well, that's true. For 11 days, you don't have crime. But before that, everybody was getting hit, mugged, and you people could not walk to your office without security. That's how unsafe it was. So I think we should really let them have their city, let their city go to hell, and when they come and beg us to help. The only problem is we want to save it for the people, because the people want us there. The people here, 95% of the people here want us. The real people, not the people you find. I don't know where you find these people. If one person has a broken nose, where do you get it? Well, I was mugged. Good. Do you want to see Trump here with? No, I don't want. Woman has a broken nose. She got mugged. But she's saying she doesn't want any protection. It's all made up fake news. It's just fake news. I don't know where you find these people. Anyway, would you say a couple of words, please? And then I'm going to ask JD to say something. You have done an unbelievable job in a short period of time.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Highly recommended by, you know who, right?
Yes, sir.
You want to say his name?
Mr. Youngkin. Governor Youngkin. Yes, sir.
We stole you from Governor.
He called me, Glenn Youngkin called, and he said, I have somebody who's really fantastic. And based on that recommendation, here you are. You've done a fantastic job. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Go ahead.
The men and women of the Metropolitan Police Department are back. They enjoy doing their job again. They feel the ability to go out and be law enforcement officers. They feel that they're connected to their communities again. They are making a difference. Thanks to you, Mr. President, and our federal task force, you are making D.C. safe once again. Thank you, sir.
It's going to get better and better. Well, it can't get much better. There's no crime. I read where crime's down 89%. I said, really? Who are the 11%? Okay, there's no crime. JD, please.
Yes, sir. Well, thanks, Mr. President. Thanks to the incredible team here. You know, I want to echo something the president said, where you say there have been murders in a couple of weeks in D.C., and it doesn't sound good. But then you talk to local law enforcement, and I didn't realize this, that this town averaged one murder every other day for the last 20, 30 years, which means that in 2 short weeks, the president and the team have saved 6 or 7 lives, people who would have been killed on the streets of D.C., who are now living, breathing, spending time with their families, because the president had the willpower to say, no more. We're not going to give the streets of D.C. over to vagrants and robbers and murderers. And the last point I want to make, sir, to your point about we want people to welcome us, to ask us, because look at Governor Pritzker in Illinois.
There's about 134 in the building. Please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the subscribe button. We got about 16 likes. Let's get the likes to 100, please. Double tap the screen. Thank you.
Or Governor Newsom in Los Angeles, or Governor Moore in Maryland. They are angrier about the fact that the President of the United States is offering to help them get their crime under control than they are about the fact that murderers are running roughshod over their cities and have been for decades. Why are Democrat governors angrier about federal law enforcement helping clean up their streets than they are about the fact that those streets need to be cleaned up to begin with? It shows a real sickness in the head. And I agree with the President of the United States. I think most Democrats, rank and file, nobody likes crime. Republicans don't like crime. Democrats don't like crime. Independents don't like crime. Why are Democratic governors doing everything in their power to make crime easier to do in their cities? It doesn't make an ounce of sense to me. But, Mr. President, I appreciate you being willing to help, and I hope these governors take you up on the offer, because we should clean up all of America's streets. It's the right of every American to live in safety and comfort in their community.
And we've got the people to do it. They're signing up like they've never signed up before. Our military, as you know, during the campaign, nobody was signing up. We were way short of their goal, we were understaffed. Nobody wanted to be in the military. Nobody wanted to be a policeman. Nobody wanted to be a fireman. They didn't want anything to do with the country. We had an incompetent, grossly incompetent president who, frankly, should not have been there. He should have never been there. The damage he did to this country is incalculable. I mean, just what he has done. So much of our effort are getting murderers and jailbirds and people out of this country who are drug dealers at the highest level. So much of the energy of people that he led, it was an unforced error. But I don't think they think it's an error. But I don't believe he believed it. It was the radical lunatics that surrounded him at this desk, who are brilliant people, but with the wrong philosophy. There were some brilliant people, but they're evil people, and they're going to be brought down. They have to be brought down because they really hurt our country. But we're getting it back very quickly. And I'll tell you something. Our country's now it's stronger. I think we're more respected than we've been respected in 100 years. That's a whole different ballgame. JD, could I ask you? You gave a stat on murders here. What were the numbers you said in a short period of time? How many people were murdered?
Local law enforcement told me, sir, that in the past 20 or 30 years, D.C. has averaged a murder every other day. That's, 200 murders a year, 150, 250, but about every other day a person has been killed on the streets of Washington, D.C. We've been doing this for 2 weeks. 0 people killed. That's real lives saved. That the media and, frankly, the entire Democratic Party should be saying, thank you for saving lives, instead of attacking the President of the United States for doing so.
When a person, unfortunately, will probably happen at some point, when a person's murdered in D.C., it's going to be the biggest story maybe in history. Right?
Yes, sir.
Somebody was murdered in D.C. Trump is failing. No, we're not failing. We have a safe city. This is maybe the safest city in America right now. That's how good it is. And it would be nice to be appreciated. These people eventually, they're going to have to be appreciated for what they're doing. And they're going to have to be appreciated by the officials that are really happy when we go in because they've lost control of their place. Steve Miller, please, say a few words.
Thank you, sir. So just to, first of all, follow up on what the Vice President said. No police officer working in the city can remember a time in their lives when there has been no murders. You can work at the police department for 20 years, 30 years, your whole life. We've checked the records. No one can even find a record of being murder-free for as long as we've been murder-free under President Trump's leadership. Additionally, and the President spoke about this before, we've uncovered, in the process of uncovering, a massive scandal in Washington, D.C. with the doctoring of crime stats. And the Department of Justice, under the Attorney General, is leading the effort to uncover this. But when we ultimately share the results, it will stun you. The extent to which, even though D.C. had the worst crime in America, honestly measured, it dramatically understated how bad it was. There's even accusations that murders and homicides were reported as accidents instead of murders. I mean, this is how severe the manipulation of the crime data has been in the city. And it will all be uncovered, and it will all be brought to light. I've had a chance to spend some time, as everyone here, with the police officers in the city. Members of the public are going up to them and thanking them, just overflowing with gratitude, because for the first time in their lives, they can use the parks, they can walk on the streets. You have people who can walk freely at night without having to worry about being robbed or mugged. They're wearing their watches again. They're wearing jewelry again. They're carrying purses again. People have changed their whole lives in the city for fear of being murdered, mugged, and carjacked. It is a literal statement that President Trump has freed 700,000 people in this city who are living under the rule of criminals and thugs. And the last thing I'll say is that under the efforts of Terry, to my left and many here, what they found also is that the street criminals here in Washington, D.C. were doing business directly with the transnational criminal cartels, the foreign terrorist organizations. So not only was the city being run by these criminal thugs, but they were working with some of the most dangerous terrorist organizations on the planet to traffic weapons and drugs into this city. And what we are uncovering every day is shocking to us, and we look forward to sharing all the results with you. But President Trump, your leadership has uncovered some of the great public safety scandals of our life, and now because of you, people are safe and free for the first time ever in the city.
Thank you very much, Chief. You know, in Los Angeles, Beverly Hills is a great place. I have a house there. I had a house there. I used to stay a lot of time, spend a lot of time there, and a great place. You know that I have friends. They leave their trunk open for their car because they know they're going to be vandalized. They don't want the trunk ripped off in order for them to steal what's in the bag. They leave the doors open, so when they go in to steal the radio or whatever they take, that they don't rip off the door. They leave the doors totally open, so the criminals, when they go and open the door, they have to break the windows in order to steal whatever it is in the car that they're looking for. And that's
They don't really
Like the video, like the video. Continue to hit the subscribe button, you guys. There's about 127 in the building. Can I please get 127 people to hit the subscribe button, and thank you. Let's get the likes up, you guys. We should be at 100 likes. If you're watching from a phone, press 1. If you're watching from a tab, press 1. Let's get the likes up. Can I get 50 people to double tap that screen? YouTube makes it so easy. To hit the like button, it's free, free, free. Support the channel by hitting the like button. It's free, free, free. Let's get the likes up so we can continue. Let's get the likes up. Thank you. To hit the like is free. To hit the like is free. If you're watching from a phone, press 1. Hit the like. Thank you. Let's continue. Fair use ration clip.
to steal whatever it is in the car that they're looking for. And that's at a level that nobody's ever seen before. Nobody lives like that. I have another friend, he has a garage, and in order to save his garage door, he leaves it open so that people can just walk into his garage, take whatever they want, and leave. But all the cars are, so many cars, I've been told this by many people, stars, big people, they leave their doors open so the doors aren't destroyed by these criminals. All over Los Angeles, this is taking place. And
who's leaving their car doors open? Who's leaving their trunks open? What? I've never heard of that. Have y'all? Note it in the comments if you've heard of people leaving their doors and trunks open. If it is in your land, if it's on your property, it should be behind a gate in most places anyway. Who's leaving their doors and trunks open? I've never heard of that. Like the video, like the video.
And you know that. I mean, you've heard that. Christy, could you say a few words?
Sure. Well, Mr. President, I think one of the most impactful statistics that you used today was of the 1,000 arrests that have happened already so far, 439 of them were illegal criminals, which means they never should have been in this country to begin with. But they were in this country, invaded over our southern border or our northern border or maritime seas, and then they committed crimes against the American people. So by getting those individuals incarcerated, we've stopped those violent crimes from happening here in the city. And sir, they do. Exactly like Stephen was talking, they have ties to cartels. They have networks across this country and other cities. So by what you're doing here is going to have a ripple effect in Miami, in Chicago, in other cities, because you're grabbing those networks and giving us information and targeting information to go and get more criminals across this country. So thank you for the work that you're doing. We have ICE and CBP, Federal Protective Services, Secret Service, HSI, all of our officers are working with all the other agencies every day here in DC, and they're so proud to have this kind of partnership. So we're so glad that you're letting them do their jobs again. And I don't know if you've heard, sir, but the recruitment campaign for ICE, when we were going to hire 10,000 new officers, we've got over 130,000 people that have applied and raised their hands and said they want to work with ICE. So no matter what the fake news says or what the media says about ICE not having support, they've got incredible support from the American people. People want to join them and help them do what they're doing to make America safe again. So thank you for that.
I was going to say that our recruitment drive, so it was dead. During the campaign, they couldn't get, every story was the Army can't fill up, the Marines, none of them could fill up. They were way behind. We couldn't get anybody to go into the military, couldn't get any police. We've just set records on everybody wants to be in. Everybody wants to go in. And we're taking incredible people. I mean, the level of, because of the Supreme Court, is based on merit. It's all based on merit now. It's not based on anything else. You got to, if you need strong people, you have to get strong people. It's all based on merit. But we're setting records in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, the Coast Guard. One of my favorites, because I happen to have created it, Space Force. We're very proud of Space Force. It's amazing what it's doing. We're leading in space now. China was killing us. Russia was beating us. China was killing us. We're now killing China. We are leading in space by a lot because of Space Force. So we're very proud. But everybody wants to go in. We went from And you know how bad that is for the spirit when every story that you were writing a year ago was that nobody wants to go into anymore. And if you're in the military, you know how deflating that is. You go home to your family, nobody wants the job that you have. Well, now it's the opposite. Everybody wants to be there, and that includes police and fire and everything else. You're doing a good job. You're stopping a lot of wars. just the presence we're stopping. We've stopped 7 wars, and really the number is actually 10. We're not including a couple, and we're not including in there the what we did with Iran, stopping their nuclear. Within a month or two, they would have had a nice big nuclear weapon to use. That's not going to happen. That won't happen. Pete, go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. Well, Mr. President, thank you very much for your leadership. And the Defense Department's proud to be a part of this task force. Just like we have been down at the southwest border, where crossings are at 0, we've got national defense areas where we're working with Border Patrol to secure the southern border for the American people. Just like Los Angeles, where ICE officers deserve to do their job without being attacked, we're really proud to be a part of defending the nation's capital and ensuring it is safe and beautiful and working with law enforcement. Mr. President, let me tell you, the morale of the troops, getting out there talking to them, they love this mission. They're grateful to be doing it, whether they're DC National Guard or other state National Guards. And at your direction as well, sir, it's just common sense to make sure they're armed as well. And so we're rolling out ensuring they're armed, capable of defending themselves and others if need be, supporting law enforcement, and we're proud to be there, sir.
Well, look at the mission you just accomplished with Iran. 36 hours back and forth, flawless. Every bomb hit its target. They went right down their chutes, dark at night, no moon, no nothing. Every target, every bomb went right down. They have a chute that goes right down deep into the mountain.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Ventilation in, I can tell you, because we use that for our advantage. But what they did, and we had the pilots and even the people that took care of the planes. We had a whole group of people at the White House a couple of weeks ago. And you know, I didn't realize this, but they said, we've been looking at their predecessors, and then these were the pilots. They said, we gave them beautiful medals. And I'll show you the medal. The medal just like this. See? Just like that. They were so happy. Give them out for that. It was an incredible job. You know, we had 52 tankers. People don't realize, so that they could refuel. We had many fighter jets, F-22s, F-35s. We had many. It was an amazing operation. It was flawless. Compare that to the operation when they went in with the helicopters crashing and everyone running around the desert, the prisoners being taken. And that was Jimmy Carter. And what a horrible thing. This was the exact opposite. This was the exact opposite of what they did in leaving a very, very nice place. The Taliban runs a tough operation in Afghanistan. And I think it was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country. That was I was leaving, and we would have left through strength, tremendous strength. We would have kept Bagram, which is the air base, one of the largest runways in the world, one of the most powerful. You could land anything on it, many, many feet thick. You don't build them that way anymore. You can't. But we left it, and now China's occupying that air base. This was the most incompetent administration in history, the Biden administration. And you're just lucky that they lost, because if they won, you wouldn't have a country anymore. And so, Pete, you started off by saying the Department of Defense. And somehow it didn't sound good to me. You know, it didn't sound good. Defense, what are we defense? Why are we defense? So it used to be called the Department of War. And it had a stronger sound. And as you know, we won World War I, we won World War II, we won everything. Now we have a Department of Defense with defenders. I don't know. If you people want to, standing behind me, if you take a little vote, if you want to change it back to what it was when we used to win wars all the time, that's okay with me. All right?
That's coming.
You let me know if you want to do it. I think Department of War. It just sounded bad. He said, sir, on behalf of the Department of Defense. Defense. I don't want to be defense only. We want defense, but we want offense too, if that's okay. So you'll make a decision. But you know, as Department of War, we won everything. We won everything. And I think we're going to have to go back to that. In the meantime, I've stopped all of these wars. I've stopped them. The big one would have been India and Pakistan. But we stopped them all. We stopped 3 wars. Go to Africa. They like to say, oh, you know, I love black people. And I did great with the black people. But they say, he's a racist. He's a racist. I said, really? For 35 years, a war raged between Rwanda and the Republic of the Congo. And it was a vicious war. 9 million people were killed with machetes, largely. Hatchets, machetes. That went on for 34, 35 years. And I stopped it. In fact, the presidents are coming in a week or two to sign. We have the foreign ministers. It's all signed. The war stopped. But I got it stopped. It saved a lot of lives. The Congo. It's deepest, darkest Africa. I got that war stopped. Nobody else could have done that. We did a lot of jobs. We did a lot of wars were stopped that nobody thought would even be possible. Now, I'll tell you what. The war with India and Pakistan, that was the next level. That was going to be a nuclear war. They already shot down 7 jets. That was raging. And I said, you guys want to do trade? We're not doing any trade. We're not doing anything with you if you keep fighting. You got 24 hours to settle it. They said, well, there's no more war going. And I used that on numerous occasions. Trade. I used whatever you had to use. But we got 7 of them stopped. And one I thought would be easiest, frankly, was going to be Russia and Ukraine, but that turns out to be some big personality conflicts. It's one of those things, but we're going to get that stopped eventually. We're going to get that stopped too. 7,000 soldiers died last week. Think of that, 7,000. I usually say 5,000, but 7,221 soldiers died last week in the fighting between Ukraine and Russia. And they're not our soldiers, but they're souls. They're living souls, and they leave their homes, and they wave to their parents, and their parents are so proud as they leave in a beautiful uniform, and a week later they get their head blown off by a drone. New form of military. It's a whole new form of fighting. So I would just like to thank the people that are behind me. Thank you very much. You've done a fantastic job. I appreciate it very much. We're doing a real job, and I'm so proud of DC. I passed it 2 days ago, and all the garbage is off the streets. It's terrible. I came in a month and a half ago. I'm driving down, and I see garbage all over the place. The streets were a pigsty. Like I won't use the city's names, but you know what I'm talking about. There are plenty of them outside of this country and inside of this country. Baltimore is a horrible deathbed. It's a deathbed. I know Governor Moore said, "Oh, he wants to take a walk with me." He meant it in a derogatory tone. I said, "No, I'm the president of the United States. Clean up your crime, and I'll walk with you." But it's tremendous crime. But he was trying to be derogatory. He doesn't have what it takes. But he's trying to be derogatory. And I met him at the Army-Navy game. They said, "Oh, there's Governor Moore. He'd love to see you." He came over to me, hugged me, shook my hand. You were there. He said, "Sir, you're the greatest president of my lifetime." I said, "But it's really nice that you say that. I'd love you to say it publicly, but I don't think you can do that, so it's okay. But no, sir, you're doing a fantastic job. I want to just shake your hand. Thank you very much, Governor." That was it.
Like the video. Fair use reaction clip. There's about 103 in the building. If I can get all 103 to hit the subscribe button and turn on your notification. Let's get the likes up, everyone. Let's get the likes up so we can continue. Can we get the likes to 100? Please double tap the screen or hit the thumbs up above the video or below the video. Let's get the likes up. We should already be at 150 likes. Please double tap the screen to get the likes up, and thank you.
Can't do the job. He's not temperamentally suited. So I just want to thank you all for being here. Do you have some questions?
Mr. President, is the Pentagon, and the Secretary of Defense can weigh into, is the Pentagon preparing for military deployment to Chicago? And with what you said there, are you waiting for the government?
We're ready to go anywhere. We have a full complement of great human beings. We're full. You know, our military is full. We were way empty 1 year ago. Now we're full. So we can go anywhere on less than 24 hours notice.
Are you waiting for the government?
And we're doing a lot to interdict to stop drugs from coming in too. We have ships out on sea. You know, we have nobody coming through our border anymore. Nobody. Doesn't that feel good to know that you don't have prisoners coming in and, you know, killers, murderers? We had 11,888 murderers come in, led in by the Biden administration. Many of them have been captured, but we still have a couple of thousand that are out there. Some of them, 50% of them killed more than one person. Okay, but a lot of them have been captured. What they've done to us, people that circle this moron that we had behind this desk, what they've done to our country is unthinkable. It's unthinkable. I mean, if you think so much of our time is devoted to correcting a problem that all they had to do is say, close the borders. Remember when he said, well, I have no power to close the border. I have to go back and get an act from Congress. I didn't get an act from Congress. I came in, I said, close the borders. And Tom Homan, who's not here, has been fantastic, Christy, right? Yes. Tom Homan is great. He's a fantastic man and respected by everybody. But I said, Tom, close the borders. Christy, close the borders. The borders were closed. We didn't go to Congress and get permission. We just closed the borders. And in the last 3 months, hard to believe this one too, in the last 3 months, we've had 0 people come into our country illegally through the southern border. Nobody would have said that's possible. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, MS-13 gangbanger and human trafficker Kilmar Abrego Garcia turned himself into ICE in Baltimore. Do you have any comment on this? And why are the Democrats so emotionally attached to this man who beats his wife and is part of a terrorist organization?
Because they think he's going to be good for votes, and I think he's very bad for votes. These people are deranged. He's not good for votes. He beat the hell out of his wife. His wife is afraid to even talk about him. She's been mauled by this animal. And, you know, through a system of liberal courts, you know, he's doing things. But, no, we have that under control. Pam has got that very much under control. Do you want to comment on it?
No, we've got him under control. He will no longer terrorize our country. He's currently charged with human smuggling, including children. The guy needs to be in prison. He doesn't need to be on the streets like all these liberals want him to be. And as part of this operation here in D.C., we've also taken on MS-13 members. We've taken, I think just last night, we got a TDA guy off our streets right here, right around from where we we all work. Another TDA member gone because of this project. So we're going to keep America safe from all of these foreign terrorist organizations, including Abrego Garcia.
Okay. Mr. President, if we could get your reaction, sir. The Israelis bombed a hospital in Gaza. They killed 20 people, including 5 journalists. When did this happen? This happened overnight, today. I didn't know that. No. Any reaction to this? Well, I'm not happy about it. I don't want to see it. At the same time, we have to end that whole nightmare. I'm the one that got the hostages out. I got them out. All of them. Steve Witkoff has been amazing. He's done a great job. But I'm the one that got them all out through my people and through me. And now we're left with probably a little bit less than 20 because I think 1 or 2 are gone. And I said a long time ago, I'm going to get them out. But when we get down to that final 10 or 20, these people aren't going to release them because they're dead after they release them. So it's a nasty situation. Very nasty, horrible thing. Yes.
Could you please elaborate on your post on South Korea? What were you referring to?
Well, I heard that there were raids on churches over the last few days, very vicious raids on churches by the new government in South Korea, that they even went into our military base and got information. They probably shouldn't have done that, but I heard bad things. I don't know if it's true or not. I'll be finding out. As you know, your new president's coming in just a couple of hours, coming here. I look forward to meeting him. But we won't stand for that. We just won't stand for that.
Are you prepared to order National Guard troops, though, into American cities if those governors don't request it?
Well, I am, but I also think that, look, Chicago, everybody knows how bad it is. Everybody standing there knows. We know. You don't have to be doing any studies. They should be saying, please come in. Pritzker should be saying that. You know, I did a favor for Christy Whitmer. A good favor, I think, with the fish carp, China carp. Did you ever hear of it? China carp. And it's taken over your Great Lakes. You know about that, right? And she came and she wanted to know if it's possible for us to do something about it. And I said, well, I'll do it. But I think it's appropriate that the person from Illinois, the governor from Illinois, asks also. It's a tremendously expensive project, actually. It's invasive. It's horrible what's happened. And we can do it with GSA and various people. But we can do it. We're going to just have to see what happens, okay? We're going to have to see what happens. But the governor of Michigan came, was very respectful, asked for it. She's done a good job. I did that. I opened the Air Force Base, kept it open for F-35s and various planes, F-22s. I did that for the state of Michigan at her request. And I will, and also at our congressmen. We have congressmen that are unbelievably pro-Michigan up there. But some of this stuff, like the lakes, the Great Lakes, this is a big problem that nobody ever talks about. Most of you probably have never heard of. We have a pretty violent issue that comes from China, China carp, Chinese carp, and you see them jumping out. They jump into boats and they jump all over the place. They've got a lot of energy, and there's a way of getting rid of them. It's very expensive, and I didn't get a request from the governor of Illinois, who is affected maybe more than anybody else, right? And I think until I get that request from that guy, I'm not going to do anything about it. And I feel the same way about crime. We go in, we will solve Chicago within 1 week, maybe less, but within 1 week, we will have no crime in Chicago, just like we have no crime in D.C. But, I don't like to go in and do it and then have somebody stand up and say what a great job he's doing on crime. And we don't want the military in our state. We don't want the military. Do you understand? Do you understand that?
Yeah, these governors will say.
So I don't know.
There was no
We're going to have a little meeting, I think. I feel like we go in and we do it, like here. To a lesser extent with the mayor. She hasn't been terrible, but she hasn't been, exactly saying, oh, great. She did say last night, I heard her say that, well, we really don't want the military in D.C. Well, that's, not very nice, I guess. That's a little bit of a hit. But she's not as bad as some. We saved Los Angeles, and all we did is get criticized by this idiot that's running the state into the ground, right, when people are leaving. He should be thanking us, and he should be requesting us to be there. And the governor of Illinois should be. Chicago's a disaster. And the governor of Illinois should say, President, would you do us the honor of cleaning up our city? We need help. They need help. They need help. We may wait. We may or may not. We may just go in and do it, which is probably what we should do. The problem is, it's not nice when you go in and do it, and somebody else is standing there saying, as we give great results, say, we don't want the military. They need help badly. Chicago desperately needs help. Just look at the crime statistics. Look at the statistics that JD said about, even I didn't know it was that bad. That's terrible. But all I know is we're being celebrated because we went an entire week. Now it's 11 days. We went an entire week without a murder. And I said, boy, that sounds terrible. I didn't know how to actually made a speech. I didn't know how to say it because it's a great number. It's a great thing, but it sounds so bad. I mean, supposing you're from a foreign country, which is properly run and they don't have murders and things, right? So much. or in some cases virtually at all. And you have somebody saying, I'm proud to announce that nobody was murdered in the capital of the United States this week. It sounds terrible, but...
Mr. President, Gavin Newsom, you mentioned Gavin Newsom on crime.
Gavin Newsom, yes.
Is there a federal mechanism you're hoping to use to fight back against his redistricting constitutional amendment, or is that...
Well, I think I'm going to be filing a lawsuit pretty soon, and I think we're going to be very successful in it. We're going to be filing it through the Department of Justice. That's going to happen. And we're also going to be filing a lawsuit on blue slipping. You know, blue slips make it impossible for me as president to appoint a judge or a U.S. attorney because they have a gentleman's agreement. It's nothing memorialized. It's a gentleman's agreement that's about 100 years old, where if you have a president like a Republican and if you have a Democrat senator, that senator can stop you from appointing a judge or a U.S. attorney in particular. Those are the two. I guess anything, but those are the two that are very important. So we have numerous states where we have unbelievable people. Now, Jay Clayton was just approved in the Southern District, but he was so good. He was a top student, top schools, top everything, went to Sullivan and Cromwell, became the head of Sullivan and Cromwell, came down here, was Securities and Exchange Commission, ran it for 4 years during my term, like impeccably, beautiful job. He did an incredible job. And we went to court, and the judges, Democrat judges, voted that he can, that's the only way you get by it. But generally speaking, you can't do that because you'll have judges from the other. So Jay Clayton just got approved, and he's in, but he didn't get approved by the senators. He got approved by the court system in New York, which was a great thing. And I had a big victory in New York, I might add. I saved myself $500 million with a fake, corrupt attorney general, a really corrupt person with a corrupt judge who was disgraceful, and they're being mauled right now by everybody. It's so corrupt, and it kept business out of New York. It's so that, but the appellate division vacated all of that stuff that you read about. And we're going to do a big number on that whole thing. You can't have a corrupt court system. You can't have that. You have to have borders, and you have to have a free press. Otherwise, you don't have a country. But you'll be hearing about the blue slipping, because if you have, you don't need two senators. You just need one Democrat senator with a Republican. The only person that I can get approved are Democrats, or maybe weak Republicans, but we don't want that. But the only person I will be able to get approved in any of those states where you have a Democrat, I can't get a U.S. attorney. I can only get a Democrat U.S. attorney. And this is based on an old custom. It's not based on law, and I think it's unconstitutional, and I'll probably be filing a suit on that pretty soon. Yeah, please.
During the campaign, you called Kamala Harris a communist. For the Biden-Harris administration, they never called for nationalizing a private company with the federal government like you're proposing with Intel. What do you say to some who say this is a bit hypocritical, and is this the new way of doing industrial policy? Yeah,
sure it is. I want to try and get as much as I can. If people come in and they need something, as an example, as a real estate person, if I have an agreement, I have any form of a stopgap where I can stop somebody from doing something, right? I have a covenant in an agreement, and they come to me and they say, would like to do something, but you have us restricted. If I do that, they usually have to pay. Now, in the case of Intel, it was interesting, but I hope I'm going to have many more cases like it. Intel came in. I met with a gentleman I had a lot of respect for him. He came in under a little bit of a cloud. I liked his story. I thought he was good. I think he really means to do a good job with Intel. I said, I'd like to ask whether or not you give, because it comes down. A lot of people said I invested in Intel. I didn't invest, but I invest my heart in it and my soul because I want the country to be strong. But I said, I'd like you to give 10% of Intel to the United States of America. Not to me, to the United States of America. And I said, if you have them as a partner, you have the United States as a partner. I think that would be a very good thing for Intel. And he thought about it a little bit different, and he said, I like that idea very much. We have a deal. And I just made $10 billion or $11 billion for the United States of America. And yeah, there will be other cases. If I have that opportunity again, I would do that. And then, you do have stupid people say, oh, that's a shame. But it's not a shame. It's called business. If somebody's willing to give you 10% of a company and you're not paying for it, and I will tell you, with a company like Intel, as you know, it's had difficulty. I want them to do well. I want them to do well anyway, but I want them to do well in particular now.
But isn't public ownership of a private company a new way of doing business in the business of the United States? Isn't that what you were sort of projecting?
So it does. So as you know, the stock market went up almost 1,000 points on Friday, and it went up not because of this very, I think, terrible. Hello, who's that? Who is that back there? All right, get out of the room. It went up because of something much different. It went up because it was announced, CBO announced the numbers, and as you know, they gave no credit to tariffs. They said they made a mistake, that the trade deficit will be reduced because of Trump's tariffs, will be reduced by $4 trillion, right? Is that what they said, right? They said $4 trillion, and the market went up like a rocket ship because the tariffs are good. Well, tariffs aren't that usual. The 7 wars I stopped, 4 of them were because of the fact that I had tariffs and trade. And I was able to say, well, if you do this, if you go fight, and if you want to kill everybody, that's okay. But I'm going to charge you each 100% tariff when you trade with us. You know what? They all gave up. I stopped 7 wars. Numerous of them was because of tariffs. So, you know the word tariff. It didn't exist really essentially in this country until actually in the 1870s up until 1913 it existed. And we were the richest country. We were richer then, proportionately, than at any time in the history of our country. And then, stupidly, in 1913, they said, let's go to the income tax way of life. Let the people pay instead of foreign countries. No, we're taking in trillions of dollars in tariffs, and we're stopping wars because of tariffs. So it's not so normal either. But you know what? Other countries did it to us, and now we're doing it to other countries.
You ruled out boots on the ground in Ukraine, but how would air support as part of security guarantee be any different? Those U.S.
Well, you really went from one question to the next. From one, I expected him to at least challenge you. Now we're talking about boots on the ground.
But U.S. air assets over the skies of Ukraine as part of a security guarantee, would those U.S. airmen also be?
Well, you don't know what security guarantee is because we haven't even discussed the specifics of it, and we'll see. Number one, Europe is going to give them significant security guarantees, and they should because they're right there. But we'll be involved from the standpoint of backup to help them. And I think if we get a deal, and I think we will, but if we get a deal, you're not going to. I don't believe you're going to have much of a problem. But we'll back it up because I want to stop seeing people being killed. You know, when Biden was here, he gave $350 billion. You know this from covering business. $350 billion to Ukraine. I said that Zelensky's the greatest salesman I think I've ever met, better than P.T. Barnum, because he'd come to the country and walk out with $50 billion every time. He actually came here once. He walked out with $100 billion. We're up to $350 billion. I got $1 trillion worth of rare earth that we have from the country because I felt badly for our taxpayer. But I did something else at the NATO meeting. They are wealthy countries, but they weren't paying, and we don't pay any money to Ukraine anymore. Do you know that? In fact, it's the opposite. They request through NATO. We deal with NATO. We don't deal really with Ukraine. NATO requests missiles. They want Patriots. They want missiles. We give the missiles to NATO. NATO pays us in full and does what they want. I mean, I think they give them mostly they can do other things with them too because we're dealing with NATO. We pay no money to Ukraine. We gave $350 billion to Ukraine. You know, if we didn't give that kind of money, and I was the one that gave the javelins, if you remember. I gave the javelins. They were very effective. They say Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. They were very effective with those tanks right at the beginning. But you would have never had a war if I were president. You would have never had a war. Just to finish, we spend no money on Ukraine anymore. We were getting fleeced by a president that didn't know what he was doing. To be honest, I don't blame Ukraine. I mean, if they come and ask for $100 billion, then they get it. But we were in for $350 billion. Now, we make money. I don't want to make money on Ukraine. I want the war to end because I want to save all those lives. I want to just say, but just so you understand, we're no longer losing money on that thing. We were losing money hand over fist. And now we don't lose any money. Now we sell weapons to NATO. Because NATO agreed, because of me, to go to 5%. They had 2% and didn't pay. Now they have 5% and they're all paid up. So they have trillions of dollars and they give us that money. But I really want the war to end, and we're going to get it ended.
Mr. President, it's a historic summit here with Ukrainian President Zelensky. European leaders all met here with you at the White House. You said you wanted to get this done bilateral as soon as possible. Have you spoken to Putin since last Monday?
Yeah.
What is your conversation?
Every conversation I have with him is a good conversation, and then unfortunately a bomb is loaded up into Kiev or someplace, and then I get very angry about it. I think we're going to get the war done. This time, I thought that would be, of the 7 that I settled, I thought that would be the easiest of the group. See, you never know what's going to happen in a war. Strange things happen in war. The fact that he went to Alaska, our country, I think was a big statement that he wants to get it done. That was not easy for him to go to Alaska, for him to come here. But the fact that he showed up on a very successful, that was a very successful day for other things. Because, we're also talking about missiles, nuclear. We're talking about a lot of different things. We're talking about limiting nuclear weapons. We'll get China into that. We have the most. Russia has the second most. And China has third. But China is way behind, but they'll catch us in 5 years. We would like to denuclearize. It's too much power. And we talked about that also. That's part of it. But we have to get the war over with.
On Baltimore, you said that you are going to have to reconsider funding. Is that contingent on Westmore cleaning up the streets?
No, we were very generous to him on a bridge. A boat ran into a bridge and the bridge came down like I've never seen anything. The boat was just So it just shows you the mass of that boat, the power of that boat. You know, people were up on that bridge, painters. They were painting the bridge, and they were watching it happen, and they thought they were very safe. They all died. They were painting the bridge. Can you imagine? And they watched the boat. The engines were off, and they watched the boat, and the power of that boat, the mass of that boat, went right through that steel just like it was nothing. It's amazing. It's called mass. Mass is a big deal. But the mass of that boat, those people all died. But they thought they were totally safe. Two of them, they were eating their lunch. They were, you know, whatever. They were watching it. They could have gotten off. Somebody did a very good job. A police officer called in and said, close the bridge. And he did it with power. Get everybody off the bridge. Close that. That guy should get a medal because he stopped the bridge. A lot of people would have died. A lot more people would have died. The ones that died were the workers on the bridge. And they thought there was no danger because, you know, it's a big steel bridge. And it came down like toothpicks. It was incredible to watch that. It was just, and they died. They all died. But that police officer, again, the police do a great job. The police officer did an amazing job. And I heard the tapes. He was saying, get everybody off. Most people wouldn't have said that. You know, when you see a thing like that, you assume it's going to, you know, tap the bridge and it's going to be rebuffed. The thing just came down. I've never seen anything like it. So he did a good job. In fact, I think we should get him in for a medal. The man that gave the warning, I listened to him. Everybody get off, screaming. Everybody off. He had the sense to realize that this could be a catastrophe as opposed to a ship that's because the engines weren't working. It was just floating. It's an amazing thing that a thing floating like that with no power just knocked it right down like it was nothing. Let's do that. Let's give him a medal. I've been thinking about it.
Mr. President, do you plan to investigate Chris Christie?
Say what?
Do you plan to investigate Chris Christie?
Look, Chris is a slob. Everybody knows it. I know Chris better than anybody in the room. I always felt he was guilty. But what he did is he took the George Washington Bridge, which is very serious. He closed down the George Washington Bridge. And you had medical people, you had ambulances caught up. This thing was closed down. And obviously he knew about it. But he blamed the young lady that worked for him and another person, and they got into a lot of trouble. She ultimately was, I don't know, exonerated, but she got out of it a little bit. But she went through hell. She was a young mother, nice person. I knew her a little bit. And another man went to jail. And Chris got off. And so when I listened to Chris speak his hate, I say, oh, what about the George Washington Bridge? You know, tell me about the George Washington Bridge. He blamed other people, but he knew all about it. So no, I don't know if they want to look at it. It's not for me. If they want to look at it, they can. You can ask Pam. I think we have other things to do.
There's about 110 in the building. If I can get all 110 to hit the subscribe button, and thank you. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We're trying to hit 50K by next month. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. Let's continue to get the likes up. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Yeah, but I always thought he got away with murder.
In the Texas Senate race between Ken Paxton and John Cornyn?
Well, I'll make up my mind. I like them both. The worst situation I have is when I have two people that I get along with well. I hate it. And they all want the endorsement. You know, I'm almost 100% of the people I endorse win. It's a great honor. And I got, as you know, I got the largest vote in the history of Texas by far. Nobody's ever gotten more votes in the last election. I think in all the elections, the 3 elections. But they like me in Texas. So people are waiting for me. But I'd rather not comment on it right now. I like both guys. They're both friends of mine. They're both good and very different.
There's some talk among congressional Republicans about another reconciliation bill. Where do you fall on that? What would you like to prioritize?
Well, I don't want to do cutting. I want to save all the different things. I'm going to cut things that are unnecessary. But the one thing I said, and I gave my word, we're not going to hurt anybody on Medicaid, Medicare, or Social Security. And in fact, we're doing great on Social Security. We found 300,000 illegals on Social Security. We got them out. And, you know, things like that make Social Security very, very strong. So, no, I am very big into certain things. And one of those 3, you could say 3 of those things are Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. We're going to protect it. And so we'll see how everything works out. If we're talking about rescissions on other things, I'm always open to cost cutting. If we can cost cut, I like it. But nothing's going to happen to medical. We have something coming up, favored nations, where I'm going to be reducing drug prices by 1,500% where a pill that sells in Germany for $10 costs $150 here because of the bad price. And I was all set to do it, and then we had the COVID come up, and I had to focus on that because we had the greatest economy in history my first term. I will tell you that we are going to be doing numbers on the cost of drugs in this country that I'm not talking about a 20% decrease, which would be good. I'm talking about 1,000% decrease. We're talking about where a product would sell for $80 in Germany and $1,300 here. And we're not going to do that. We were subsidizing the entire world, and we're not doing it anymore. I informed the drug companies. I informed the world. And if the world wants to, if countries in the world don't want to go along, then I'm going to put tariffs on those countries, and we'll make more money. But they have to go along with it. So this is moving along rapidly. Dr. Oz is in charge, Bobby's group, and they're doing very well. And we're getting great cooperation from the drug, because the drug companies know it's unfair. You know, for years they'd say, well, we had to do research, and I said, I don't care, you had to do research for these other countries also. They are ready to go, and I'm ready to go. And you know, if I pull that off, there's no way a Republican will lose an election. There's no way. All right, one more question. Steve, what's his guy? He's the nicest guy I know, and he asks the most vicious questions.
Why do you think President Putin is so reluctant to meet with President Zelensky?
Because he doesn't like him. He doesn't like him. You know, they don't like. I have people I don't like. I don't like to meet with them. Sometimes I do like to meet with people I don't like. They don't like each other really. And if we had a real president instead of a guy that got in there with a fraudulent election, if we had a real president, that war would have never happened. Putin actually said, if Trump were president, it wouldn't have happened. Happened for a lot of reasons. Happened because of Afghanistan. When he saw how incompetent Milley was and all these guys were, I think he said, well, this might be, because it was the apple of his eye. It would have never happened if I were president.
Mr. President, you have built relationship with Russian leaders and also North Korean leaders. As they are getting closer, how would that affect your diplomatic approach?
Well, I have very good relationships with Kim Jong-un, North Korea. I mean, a lot of people would say, oh, that's terrible. No, it's good. In fact, someday I'll see him. I look forward to seeing him. He was very good with me. We had 2 meetings. We had 2 summits. We got along great. I know him better than you do. I know him better than anybody, almost, other than his sister. His sister knows him pretty well. No, I know him well, and I got along with him. You know, I'm not supposed to say I really like him a lot, because if I do that, I get killed in the fake news media. But I got along with him very well, and we had no problem. If at the time Hillary Clinton won the election, you would have had a nuclear war. You would have had a nuclear war. We're not going to have a nuclear war. Once that happens, it's over. We're not going to have a nuclear war. No, but Kim Jong-un will meet at some point. I look forward to it, actually. But you notice that since I came into office, you haven't had a problem with him. Hasn't been, you know, he tests lots of rockets. He does have great capability, I will say that. But I think a lot of good things are happening for our country. A lot of really good things. And the thing we're here today to talk about is crime, and specifically in D.C. I am so proud of what these people, every one of them, what they've done in D.C. Because to literally stop crime on a button. I'd walk down that street right now. If I were friends of mine are going out to dinner now. They haven't gone out to dinner in 4 years. They were afraid. They were petrified. Half the restaurants closed because nobody could go because they're afraid to go outside. Now those restaurants are open, and new restaurants are opening up. It's like a boom town. It's a great thing to see, and I'm very proud of the people behind me. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks. Let's continue fair use reaction clip. Like the video as you guys come in. Like the video and hit subscribe. Please hit the subscribe button, everyone.
Joining us now.
Please hit the subscribe button. If I can get 50 people to hit that subscribe button today, will be a great day in regards to subscribers. We're trying to hit 50K by next month. Like the video and hit the subscribe button. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
All right, Ken, joining us now, MSNBC Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delanian, New York Times chief White House correspondent, and MSNBC political analyst Peter Baker, host of the Bulwark, love that word, podcast, writer at large, and MSNBC political analyst Tim Miller, and former North Dakota senator and director at the University of Chicago Institute of Politics, Heidi Heitkamp. All right, Ken. So we're talking about this because we're now seeing this begin in action, this idea of retribution, the effort toward retribution, and it began on Friday, just before 7 in the morning, at John Bolton's home. We've had the weekend to chew it over. What's the latest today?
Yes, and of course, Katie, we don't know for a fact that what happened to John Bolton was the result of retribution by Donald Trump, because we don't know what underlies that investigation and that FBI search of his house. After all, a judge had to approve that warrant, perhaps 2 judges. But we do know that Bolton had already been the target of retribution because Donald Trump pulled his security detail, even though the intelligence community says that his life is under threat from the Iranians. And we know that there's a whole list of people. Donald Trump has an enemies list, and he's been acting on it. He's been executing on it. And it goes to, for example, John Brennan and James Comey, the former CIA director and the former FBI director, who it's been reported are under criminal investigation right now based on referrals made by Donald Trump's intelligence chiefs. And Barack Obama may figure in that investigation somehow. And then you have these lesser figures who aren't household names, people like Miles Taylor and Christopher Krebs. Remember, Donald Trump identified them in executive orders that were read out in the Oval Office, and they are under some kind of government investigation or inquiry based really on no evidence of any wrongdoing. But the most important thing that viewers need to understand, we've said this before on your air, but that Donald Trump and his administration has shattered the tradition that grew up in response to Watergate
a 50-year tradition. It was a norm. It was not a law that the Justice Department and the FBI would operate independently, particularly when it comes to individual criminal investigations and charging decisions from the White House. And that norm became so refined that there were policies about which particular White House officials could communicate with which senior Justice Department officials, and it was very limited. And, the Trump folks accused the Biden administration of weaponizing the Justice Department, but I covered the Biden Justice Department, and Merrick Garland didn't even want to be seen in a room with Joe Biden. He took pains to be separated from the White House, to the point where the White House was not very happy with Merrick Garland for most of Joe Biden's term. And people who cover the White House, people who cover the DOJ, they know that very well. So the Justice Department was not weaponized in the Biden administration, but it sure looks like it's being weaponized now in a way that Richard Nixon really never dreamed of, Katie.
Yeah, and Peter, as I laid out, I mean, Donald Trump has just blown through any norm. He's brash, he's bullish, he refuses to bend, refuses to kowtow, refuses to say he's wrong. And now he's not only doing that, but he's lined up a number of loyalists around him, people that are willing to do the things that he maybe not is directly asking them to do, but the things that they know he wants them to do. That's how Michael Cohen has always put it. Nixon ran up against his own administration. He ran up against his DOJ, who said, we're not going to do this. And he had to go through a number, the Saturday Night Massacre, firing a number of members of the DOJ before he could find somebody to carry out his orders. This, by doing it out in the open and doing it without apology and having the friendly news outlets there to cushion it, to rewrite it, to spin it, and then the party there to just get in line, this is different.
It's different. I mean, look, Richard Nixon obviously had his own dark side, and he had his enemies list, and he used the instruments of power to go after them, right? He authorized the burglary of Daniel Ellsberg's psychiatrist's office in order to get dirt on Daniel Ellsberg because he had angered Nixon over Vietnam. He did all kinds of things like that, but the difference was that he understood you weren't supposed to be doing it out in public. You're supposed to hide that kind of thing. That was the reason he got pushed out of office with a cover-up. There's no cover-up here. What's going on with this president is out in the open. He's not really making much of a pretense that this is anything other than retribution. Look what we saw just in the last few days, right? We saw FBI agents at John Bolton's house just days after Bolton was all over television criticizing Donald Trump's handling of the Alaska summit with Vladimir Putin and the meeting with Volodymyr Zelensky in Washington. We saw the director of the Defense Intelligence Agency fired just weeks after his agency contradicted Trump's version of what happened with the Iran nuclear strikes. We saw just yesterday the President of the United States say on social media that he was really angry at Chris Christie, the former governor of New Jersey, a one-time ally of his. He didn't like what Christie was saying on television, and therefore maybe he should reopen an investigation into a 12-year-old matter involving Christie, very openly saying that because Christie criticized him, Christie should be investigated. This is not secret. This is not hidden. This is right out in the open. When Elon Musk turned on Donald Trump, Trump said, hey, maybe I should take away all of his federal contracts. In other words, he is willing to not only use the instruments of power of government, which are supposed to be neutral and not political weaponry, he's willing to use them as weapons, and he's willing to basically make clear that he's using them as weapons.
Let's play the moment this morning from Donald Trump asked about Chris Christie and asked about whether he's actually going to investigate him, as he intimated over the weekend. Here's what he said.
Chris is a slob. Everybody knows it. I know Chris better than anybody in the room. I always felt he was guilty. But what he did is he took the George Washington Bridge, which is very serious. He closed down the George Washington Bridge. And you had medical people, you had ambulances caught up. This thing was closed down. And obviously he knew about it. When I listened to Chris speak his hate, I say, oh, what about the George Washington Bridge? Tell me about the George Washington Bridge. He blamed other people, but he knew all about it. So no, I don't know if they want to look at it. It's not for me. If they want to look at it, they can. You can ask Pam. I think we have other things to do, but I always thought he got away with murder. It's my honor this morning to introduce somebody who is a real standout. He's been my friend for many years. He's been a spectacular governor. He's been just a wonderful person and a wonderful, loyal person.
So we cut those two things together because here's Donald Trump saying he always knew that he was guilty and that he had committed a crime there. And, Chris Christie is terrible, but it was only a few short years ago that Chris Christie was wonderful and a great loyalist and a great governor, and he wanted him as a part of his campaign. So there's always a hypocrisy there. As long as you are useful to me, I will keep you close, and as long as you're not useful to me, I will push you away. The question, I guess, Tim, is this more than just a cudgel? Is it more than just intimidation? Is he saying this about Chris Christie just to get Chris Christie to stop, to be quiet? Or is there something there? And can we point to John Bolton as a reason to believe that there is perhaps more to this?
Well, it's definitely intimidation. And I think that it's not just intimidating Chris Christie, though, or trying to, but intimidate other people who might speak out about this. And look, Trump is good at a few certain things. He's good at an insult that you saw there. He's good at picking unsympathetic foes. There's not a huge base of goodwill for Chris Christie or John Bolton, frankly. And I think that Trump knows that. But like the the scary part about this is that in both of these cases, like these are long, unless there's something new about John Bolton, I don't think there's any reason to. I think people assume that it's related to the book investigation from a few years ago. But these are old cases that they're bringing back up just to go after political votes and to send a message to people that they shouldn't speak out against this administration, or they might use the Justice Department, the federal government, to go after them. And maybe that won't mean an actual indictment, but being investigated, having your house raided while your wife is there in the morning, like that is punishment in itself. Having to get lawyers, having to defend yourself, that's a punishment in itself. They're doing it purposefully, and I think this goes without saying based on that video you showed, Katie, but just to be explicit about it, there's no imaginable way if John Chris Christie had stayed in Donald Trump's good graces and supported him in 2024, that their house would be raided in the case of John Bolton, or that Trump would be floating an investigation against them. He's not doing this to Mark Meadows or the other people from Trump 1.0 who have stayed loyal to him. And so it's obviously on its face a political attack and an intimidation tactic.
Let me tee you up, Heidi, with this from the Wall Street Journal editorial board on Donald Trump's vendetta, talking about the Bolton raid specifically. They say the real offender here is a president who seems to can use the powers of his office to run vendettas. We said this was one of the risks of a second Trump term, and it's turning out to be worse than we imagined. Is that the take you believe from your fellow former lawmakers? Do they believe that things are going well? Or are they happy with this, or are they getting nervous?
Well, I don't know what Republicans in the Senate are thinking to allow this to continue. Trump learned the lesson of the last administration, his first term, when he had Bill Barr who put guardrails up. He had people like Gary Cohen who put guardrails up. He had people like Chris Christie who was willing to say no. And when people say no to Trump and he gets his feelings hurt, this is what he does. I think it's really interesting if you think you're going to intimidate Chris Christie. I know a little bit about him, and number one, his IQ points would double or triple the top 3 people right now in the Justice Department. And so I'm sure it's bring it on. Plus, Trump actually tweeted when the unanimous decision came out on behalf Bridgegate, saying there was no there was no prosecution that was appropriate. He said that's a good idea. I think the real danger here that everyone's missing is the frustration the Democrats had with Merrick Garland and how he ran the Justice Department, saying you should have been much more aggressive. How do we put this back? How do we put the genie back in the bottle when you have Trump so blazing, it's brazen what he's doing with the Department of Justice, and there's going to be, again, a norm that's broken, and how do you put it back? And so I think that you can't just look at Donald Trump and say, God, please just get us through the next 3 years. You've got to look at what's the permanent damage to the
if you get a chance to put it back.
Like the video, fair use reaction clip. Like the video as you guys come in. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, you guys. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Like the video as you come in.
I really do think one of the biggest differentiators of our company.
Like the video as you guys come in. Thanks for being here. Don't forget to hit the subscribe. If you've already hit subscribe, thank you for supporting the channel. If you already hit the like button, thank you for supporting the channel. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
It prompts an important question. When will we really know that we are officially under authoritarian rule here? Remember that when you consider all of the breaking stories and headlines we woke up to this morning. As we speak, there are more than 2,000 armed soldiers, military, patrolling the streets of our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. The federal task force managing the D.C. takeover says that the majority of those troops are carrying their service-issued M17 pistols, while a number are packing M4 rifles. At the moment, orders are to use those weapons, quote, as a last resort in response to an imminent threat of death or serious bodily harm. Troops are not making arrests, not yet at least. We should be clear, members of the United States military are among the finest and bravest and most noble men and women our country has to offer, period, full stop. The fault in everything we discussed today does not lie with them, but with the person giving them their orders, the country's elected commander-in-chief. Donald Trump today, in the midst of signing executive orders ending cashless bail and criminalizing flag burning, again suggested he'll send troops to Chicago and maybe also Baltimore, potentially putting nearly 4 million Americans under this dark new rule of law, law and order regime in America. Then he said this.
As you all know, Chicago is a killing field right now. And they don't acknowledge it. And they say, we don't need him. Freedom, freedom. He's a dictator. He's a dictator. A lot of people are saying maybe we like a dictator. I don't like a dictator. I'm not a dictator. I'm a man with great common sense and a smart person. And when I see what's happening to our cities, and then you send in troops, instead of being praised, they're saying you're trying to take over the republic.
quote, I'm a smart person, says not so many actually smart people, but okay. So water hot enough for you yet? Just so you know, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is expected to address the potential for troops arriving in his city, the city of Chicago, at any moment. We're monitoring that for you. But just as important as the what in these matters today is the why. Because while the Trump administration will publicly, in statements like that, say that these drastic, unprecedented measures are designed to fight crime, the reality is that as far as we can tell, so far, it is not about that. It's a show of force. New York Times tracked incoming defendants to a federal courthouse in Washington, D.C., people appearing before a magistrate judge who would otherwise be dealt with at a local court level, if charges were ever filed against them at all. Quote, one man had been arrested over an open container of alcohol. Another had been charged with threatening the president after delivering a drunken outburst following his arrest on vandalism. And one defendant's gun case so alarmed prosecutors that they intend to drop the case. To defense lawyers and even some prosecutors, many of the cases that have landed in court have raised concerns that the takeover seems intended to artificially inflate its effect because government lawyers have been instructed to file the most serious federal charges no matter how minor the incident. Which brings us back to where we started. When will we know? When will all of us know we've crossed into something new, into authoritarianism? Bill Maher, of all people, this weekend had a theory about what comes next.
Let me just describe some of the steps, and you tell me if I'm being paranoid. First, create a masked police force. Get people used to looking at that. Normalize snatching people off the street. Get them used to that. Normalize seeing the National Guard and the military on the street. Then start talking about crime in the capital, which is basically, has always been a fairly crime-ridden city. This is our nation's capital where elections are decided. And then because the crime is so bad, have other states start sending their troops, not just the National Guard there in D.C., but now at least 6 other states are sending their troops, which then Trump can then federalize. So you're having many states' troops on the ground there, and now they're under federal control. So you have in the capital a sort of permanent police presence. So when an election dispute might come up, just hypothetically, I don't want to be a big pessimist, and I'm going to pretend for the rest of the duration that the Democrats do have a chance of winning, and they might win the next election. I just don't think they're ever going to take power, because this is what's going to happen. Because I think this coup is going to go off a lot smoother than the last one.
Like the video, like the video.
That slow-moving coup, finally uttered out loud by Bill Maher, is where we start today with some of our favorite reporters and friends. Former Adjutant General for the Illinois National Guard and former Illinois Democratic Congressman, retired Major General William Enyart is here. Also joining us is staff writer for The Atlantic, author of Autocracy, Inc., and Applebaum is here. And former Democratic Senator, MSNBC political analyst Claire McCaskill is here. And Applebaum, I start with you. We tried to focus in on the idea that authoritarianism could happen here. And we debated internally behind the scenes whether it's authoritarianism in America, it could happen here, question mark, or authoritarianism in America, it could happen here, no question mark. And I guess my question for you today is, authoritarianism in America is here, right?
So it's been here for a while in the sense that authoritarian behaviors that we are used to thinking of belonging to different kinds of countries or different eras are already with us. So, for example, election officials in Arizona being hounded out of their jobs by mobs, that's something that you would only see in a state where organized mobs can hound officials out of their jobs, and that's something that has already happened in America. Or Congress holding fake hearings over events that didn't happen in order to create public indignation, over something non-existent. So the creation of using politics to create fake spectacles, for example, these are authoritarian habits and practices. Kleptocracy, the use of public office to hide or steal money or to gain money, also already with us. It's been with us at a low level for a time. Now it's exploded. It's at a level never imagined before. The president has a cryptocurrency company into which people openly pay money. They don't get anything for their payment other than the fact that the president knows they paid them, and they can do so anonymously. All these kinds of behaviors have been building for some time, even before the election, and now they're simply coming to fruition. There isn't going to be a moment. It's not like there's going to be a red flashing light that goes off. Maybe something will happen at the midterms or maybe not. But the increasing use of authoritarian tactics and the corresponding answer of authoritarian behaviors is here, and it's really important that Americans recognize it and name it and understand it. You know, we are a people who are used to the idea of our own exceptionalism. We are used to the idea that we live in a long tradition, and we're right to have those feelings, but that can also make us blind to the possibilities. And it's very useful to actually have somebody like Bill Maher or you speaking about this this change of system as something that could happen. It doesn't mean that it will happen or that we can't fight it, but it's useful to begin to stretch our imaginations.
Are there things that in other countries that have crossed all these lines, like Friday, a raid of an outspoken political critic at the home of John Bolton, the court-approved search of the home of John Bolton, seemed to cross a threshold for a lot of people watching closely. I'm sure that they will be savvy enough to manufacture a narrative about something he did wrong. But I wonder if there are lines that are getting crossed in active duty armed military on the streets of American cities, of political opponents having their homes searched, of people in the media bending a knee. Are there lines that we're crossing that in other countries have woken up the general population to the threat?
I mean, you know, in another country, yeah, I think having armed military on the streets of the Capitol would feel alarming. One of the things that's happening here is that the Trump administration keeps pretending that it's doing something else. So I actually got in an argument on a podcast a few days ago with somebody who wanted to have an argument with me about crime in Washington. And I was confused by the conversation because, of course, the issue isn't crime in Washington. I mean, whether there is or there isn't, or whether it's going up or not, it's absolutely irrelevant. The reason why troops are on the street in Washington has nothing to do with crime. You know, the military, the National Guard aren't trained to deal with crime. They're not the right tool to use if you have crime. If there were a crime emergency, they wouldn't be the right thing to send. But the administration, by continually, as you said, supplying these fake narratives, and by getting people to argue about crime in Washington or whether John Bolton did something right or something wrong, means that people are, as you say, missing the point. We're missing the milestones. You know, we aren't seeing what's happening. We aren't paying attention to what the consequences could be of having armed troops on our street. We get used to them. They're there the next time power changes hands. Maybe they prevent that from happening. All those things are now possible, and it's important, again, that we begin to name things by their real names.
Like the video, fair use, reaction clip. Continue to hit the subscribe button, you guys. If you already hit subscribe, thank you. If you've already hit subscribe, thank you. Thanks for being here, everyone. Thanks for supporting the channel. Like the video as you guys come in. Like the video as you guys come in.
Buy one, get one half off back to school shoes at
Continue to hit the subscribe button, you guys. Can I get 73 people to hit the subscribe button? If all 73 hit the subscribe button, it'll be a great day.
Leaders work every day to combat crime and to improve public safety. And it's working. Not one person here today will claim we have solved all crime in Chicago. Nor can that be said of any major American metro area. But calling the military into a U.S. city to invade our streets and neighborhoods and disrupt the lives of everyday people is extraordinary action, and it should require extraordinary justification. Look around you right now. Does this look like an emergency? Look at this. Go talk to the people of Chicago who are enjoying a gorgeous afternoon in this city. Ask the families buying ice cream on the Riverwalk. Go see the students who are at the beach after school. Talk to the workers that I just met taking the water taxi to get here. Find a family who's enjoying today sitting on their front porch and ask if they want their neighborhoods turned into a war zone by a wannabe dictator. Ask if they'd like to pass through a checkpoint with unidentified officers in masks while taking their kids to school.
Do you think they should go into Chicago area? Let me know in the comments, yes or no. Can I get all 77 people to hit the subscribe button? If all 77 hit the subscribe button, we will meet our quota for today. Like the videos you guys come in. Like the videos you guys come in.
Crime is a reality we all face in this country. Public safety has been among our highest priorities since taking office. We have hired more police and given them more funding. We banned assault weapons, ghost guns, bump stocks, and high-capacity magazines. We invested historic amounts into community violence intervention programs. We listened to our local communities, to the people who live and work in the places that are most affected by crime, and asked them what they needed to help make their neighborhoods safer. Those strategies have been working. Crime crime is dropping in Chicago. Murders are down 32% compared to last year and nearly cut in half since 2021. Shootings are down 37% since last year and 57% from 4 years ago. Robberies are down 34% year over year. Burglaries down 21%. Motor vehicle thefts down 26%. So in case there was any doubt as to the motivation behind Trump's military occupations, take note. 13 of the top 20 cities in homicide rate have Republican governors. None of these cities is Chicago. 8 of the top 10 states with the highest homicide rates are led by Republicans. None of those states is Illinois. Memphis, Tennessee, Hattiesburg, Mississippi have higher crime rates than Chicago, and yet Donald Trump is sending troops here and not there? Ask yourself why. If Donald Trump was actually serious about fighting crime in cities like Chicago, he, along with his congressional Republicans, would not be cutting over $800 million in public safety and crime prevention grants nationally, including cutting $158 million in funding to Illinois for violence prevention programs that deploy trained outreach workers to de-escalate conflict on our streets. Cutting $71 million of law enforcement grants to Illinois, direct money for police departments through programs like Project Safe Neighborhoods, the state and local anti-terrorism training program, and the Rural Violent Crime Reduction Initiative. Cutting $137 million in child protection measures in Illinois that protect our kids against abuse and neglect. Trump is defunding the police. To the members of the press who are assembled here today and listening across the country, I am asking for your courage to tell it like it is. This is not a time to pretend here that there are two sides to this story. This is not a time to fall back into the reflexive crouch that I so often see, where the authoritarian creep by this administration is ignored in favor of some horse race piece on who will be helped politically by the president's actions. Donald Trump wants to use the military to occupy a U.S. city, punish his dissidents, and score political points. If this were happening in any other country, we would have no trouble calling it what it is, a dangerous power grab. Look at the people assembled before you today, behind me. This is a full cross-section of Chicago's leaders from the business world, the faith community, law enforcement, education, community organizations, and more. We sometimes disagree on how to effectively solve the many challenges that our state and our city face on a daily basis. But today we are standing here united, in public, in front of the cameras, unafraid to tell the president that his proposed actions will make our jobs harder and the lives of our residents worse. Earlier today in the Oval Office, Donald Trump looked at the assembled cameras and asked for me personally to say, "Mr. President, can you do us the honor of protecting our city?" Instead, I say, "Mr. President, do not come to Chicago." You are neither wanted here nor needed here. Your remarks about this effort over the last several weeks have betrayed a continuing slip in your mental faculties and are not fit for the auspicious office that you occupy. Most alarming, you seem to lack any appropriate concern as our commander-in-chief for the members of the military that you would so callously deploy as pawns in your ever more alarming grabs for power. As a governor, I've had to make the decision in the past to call up members of the National Guard into active service. And I think it's worth taking a moment to reflect on how seriously I take that responsibility and on the many things that I consider before asking these brave men and women to leave their homes and their communities to serve in any capacity for us. As I've said many times in the past, members of the National Guard are not trained to serve as law enforcement. They are trained for the battlefield, and they're good at it. They're not trained to arrest people and read them their Miranda rights. They did not sign up for the National Guard to fight crime. And when we call them into service, we are reaching into local communities and taking people who have jobs and families away from their neighborhoods and the people who rely upon them. It is insulting to their integrity and to the extraordinary sacrifices that they make to serve in the Guard, to use them as a political prop, where they could be put in situations where they will be at odds with their local communities, the ones that they seek to serve. I know Donald Trump doesn't care about the well-being of the members of our military, but I do, and so do all the people standing here. So let me speak to all Illinoisans and to all Chicagoans right now. Hopefully the president will reconsider this dangerous and misguided encroachment upon our state and our city's sovereignty. hopefully rational voices, if there are any left inside the White House.
Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 5 if you've been here before and where you're watching from. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. There's about 93 people in the building. Please hit the subscribe button if you have not already hit the button. We're trying to get to 50K by next month. Hit the subscribe button and thank you. Welcome, welcome. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope all is well.
Or the Pentagon will prevail in the coming days. If not, we are going to face an unprecedented and difficult time ahead. But I know you, Chicago, and I know you are up to it. When you protest, do it peacefully. Be sure to continue Chicago's long tradition of nonviolent resistance. Remember that the members of the military and the National Guard who will be asked to walk these streets are, for the most part, here unwillingly. And remember that they can be court-martialed and their lives ruined if they resist deployment. Look to the members of the faith community standing behind me today for guidance on how to mobilize. To my fellow governors across the nation who would consider pulling your National Guards from their duties at home to come into my state against the wishes of its elected representatives and its people, you would be failing your constituents and your country. Cooperation and coordination between our states is vital to the fabric of our nation, and it benefits us all. Any action undercutting that and violating the sacred sovereignty of our state to cater to the ego of a dictator will be responded to. The state of Illinois is ready to stand against this military deployment with every peaceful tool we have. We will see the Trump administration in court. We will use every lever at our disposal to protect the people of Illinois and their rights. Finally, to the Trump administration officials who are complicit in this scheme, to the public servants who have forsaken their oath to the Constitution to serve the petty whims of an arrogant little man, to any federal official who would come to Chicago and try to incite my people into violence as a pretext for something darker and more dangerous, we are watching and we are taking names. This country has survived darker periods than the one that we're going through right now, and eventually the pendulum will swing back, maybe even next year. Donald Trump has already shown himself to have little regard for the many acolytes that he has encouraged to commit crimes on his behalf. You can delay justice for a time, but history shows you cannot prevent it from finding you eventually. If you hurt my people, nothing will stop me, not time or political circumstance, from making sure that you face justice under our constitutional rule of law. As Dr. King once said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice.
Not quoting Dr.
Humbly,
King.
I would add, it doesn't bend on its own. History tells us we often have to apply needed to make sure that the arc gets where it needs to go. This is one of those times. I look forward to taking your questions in a few minutes, but first, I'd like to hand over our podium to Mayor Brandon Johnson.
Like the video, fair use reaction clip. There's about 133 in the building. If I can get all 133 to please hit the subscribe button. We're almost at our quota. I need 50 more people to hit the subscribe button. We're almost at the quota for today. 50 people to hit the subscribe button. We're almost at our quota today. Like the video as you guys come in. Like the video as you guys come in. Fair use reaction clip.
The conclusion by Democrats on the House Oversight Committee after their initial review of more than 33,000 pages of Epstein documents released by the DOJ, and it found only...
Thank you for subbing. Thank you for subbing, Roberto.
3% contained any new information. A DOJ spokesperson said it provided more than was ever requested. Joining us now, ranking member of the House Oversight Committee, California Democrat Robert Garcia. It's good to have you back on the show, Congressman. What do you believe is new here, and has it opened any new lanes of the investigation?
Well, first, that statement made by that spokesperson is just a complete fabrication. We received 33,000 pages of documents from the Epstein files. Of those 33,000 pages, 97% of them were essentially records that were already in the public domain. These are court documents, reports, records that have been accessible to the public now for, in some cases, for many, many months. And so not a lot of new information. There were some flight logs that were additional and new. About 1,000 pages of the 33,000 pages were actually new documents, which of course we're reviewing. But we spent the weekend, our committee and our team, just going through that entire first batch. And it's clear that this cover-up by the White House and the DOJ continues. The subpoena, which was bipartisan, and that Democrats forced Republicans to vote on, made it clear that we wanted the full, unredacted Epstein files, and the White House and the DOJ continue to stall, and the question must be asked, what are they hiding?
So do you have a sense of what you think that is, and what, being in the minority, we talk about this all the time, what options do you have to get more transparency?
Well, the White House and DOJ have no options than to just release all the files. I mean, they're dragging their feet. They have said they're going to release all of them to us. The fact that they gave us this first kind of tranche of documents in a way that they wanted to put them out, and the same day that they kind of released the Ghislaine Maxwell transcript, they're clearly trying to divert attention. They're trying to create distractions. They know that the American public is focused on justice for these victims, and that they know that the American public understand and don't know why Donald Trump flip-flopped from a campaign promise to where we are now. Let's remind everyone, Pam Bondi, the AG, said that the Epstein files were on her desk, that they were ready to go. And then they completely changed course. The documents that we want are the client list, folks that were involved in the abuse.
Yeah, she said it was on her desk. Like the video, like the video. I need 50 more people to hit the subscribe button. We're almost at our quota for today. I need 50 more people to hit the subscribe button. We're almost at our quota for today. If you already hit subscribe, thank you. If you already hit like, thank you. Thank you for supporting the channel. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Ensure that people that actually cause harm to these young women and girls actually face accountability. And we want to understand what Jeffrey Epstein was doing with all of these connections that he had built around the world and in our countries. That's what we're looking for. We won't stop till we get the full files.
So whether it is, the documents or a Maxwell interview, have you heard anything, even behind the scenes, from your Republican colleagues that they have any level of frustration surrounding this?
There is some frustration. I mean, for example, there's members of the committee, Republicans, some have gone public, that they don't understand why, for example, we haven't subpoenaed Alex Acosta. Alex Acosta, of course, was the one that put together that original Jeffrey Epstein deal that he received. He probably knows more about this case than almost anyone. He went on to become Trump's Secretary of Labor, as we all know. And so there are some Republicans that want more information, but the reality is that they are stonewalling. Mike Johnson is playing a cover-up game. He has no interest in actually releasing these files. The only reason we're getting some type of disclosure is because Democrats forced it on the committee. And so the question has to be continued to be asked. What are they hiding? Why aren't they releasing the files? We've said we don't care who's impacted, how powerful they are, what party they're from. If you've caused harm to young girls, if you have helped these horrific people like Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, who are essentially sex traffickers and pedophiles, we should hold these folks accountable, and it's time to stop this cover-up.
As you well know, Congressman, the Supreme Court still has to decide whether it will review Maxwell's sex offender conviction. So the Oversight Committee postponed its deposition of Maxwell, I think at least until mid-October, if I'm right. Does that make sense to you, to wait to see what the Supreme Court does?
Absolutely not. I mean, that decision, of course, was made by James Comer and the House Republicans who unfortunately hold the majority. They can make these decisions. We wanted to get Ghislaine Maxwell in immediately. And what they ended up doing is they created a smokescreen. Instead of Ghislaine Maxwell coming in front of a bipartisan group of members of Congress to be asked tough questions and to be asked questions and get answers, they delay her deposition and instead have the Deputy Attorney General or Trump's former personal lawyer, which Todd Blanche was, literally Donald Trump's personal lawyer becomes the Deputy AG. He becomes the person asking Ghislaine Maxwell the questions. Then she gets moved to a less secure prison for no reason that has yet to be explained by anyone. And so this snowball continues. But one thing is clear is that the American public is focused on this issue and they want answers. And they feel betrayed by Donald Trump. If Donald Trump's going to lie to them about this issue, he's going to continue to lie to them about their health care, about the economy, about lowering costs. This just goes straight to the idea that Donald Trump and his administration are involved not just in a cover-up, but in corruption, and in major government corruption, and we got to get the truth out there.
Well, assuming that Ghislaine Maxwell at some point does come before your committee, do you have any expectation that you'll get the answers you want from her?
Well, look, that's going to be up to her. Look, first, we got to be clear. Ghislaine Maxwell is a convicted sex trafficker. She's a horrific person who's been convicted of horrible crimes and has caused enormous violence to children and to young girls. And so what she says has to be taken into account with the knowledge that she also wants a pardon or reduced sentence from Donald Trump. So absolutely, that is first and foremost clear and top of mind. But she should be asked tough questions. She should be asked to corroborate her information with what's actually in the files, which is why it's so important that we get them. And so she was voted to be deposed in a bipartisan vote. We will conduct that interview, but we need to conduct that interview now and not wait, which is what the Republicans will continue to do around the and knowing, by the way, and reminding folks that she obviously is a horrific person and no liar.
Congressman Robert Garcia, thank you for your time, sir. Appreciate it.
Like the video, fair use, reaction clip. Like the video as you guys come in.
So I'm thinking about, when I have some slob like Pritzker criticizing us before we even go there. I made the statement that next should be Chicago because, as you all know, Chicago is a killing field right now. And they don't acknowledge it. And they say, we don't need him. Freedom, freedom. He's a dictator. He's a dictator. A lot of people are saying maybe we like a dictator. I don't like a dictator. I'm not a dictator. I'm a man with great common sense and I'm a smart person.
Quote, a lot of people are saying we need a dictator. Here's an easy hint. When Donald Trump says a lot of people are saying something, it's him. He is the person saying the thing. A lot of people in the United States of America are not saying we would like a dictator. Trump is projecting his wishes onto these imaginary people and then using that as a way to normalize this idea to the rest of us that this is some widely accepted view in the United States of America. It's not, and do not delude yourself into thinking that it is. And I know the response from critics here, oh my God, he's just joking and the alarmist libs are losing their minds over nothing. And that would carry some weight if Trump wasn't literally trying to undermine free and fair elections right now, if he wasn't demanding that states rig their elections by redrawing their maps mid-cycle right now, if he wasn't demanding an illegal mid-cycle census right now, if he wasn't deploying the military into American cities right now. You don't get to accuse the Democrats of crying alarmism when all of the things they're saying are true. And in fact, Trump isn't skirting around this issue. He's actually leaning in.
I'm a makeup artist who doesn't love traditional foundation. That's why I created What the Foundation. Traditional foundation can be thick and cakey and actually make your skin look worse. What the Foundation is a hybrid product that blends foundation and moisturizer. This is exactly what I think a foundation should be. It has such beautiful oils in it. You often don't need a moisturizer with it. The right amount of pigment, it's enough that gives you that even coverage without looking dry. It actually gives you a lift, and you don't need a lot of it. A little goes a long way. It just makes your skin look better. Even out my complexion, it just makes my face look fresh.
The skin nourishing ingredients make my skin feel so soft and supple.
Jones Road, What the Foundation. It is amazing. I love just touching this, how lightweight it feels. It's like this nurturing cream, and it has such a smooth, light feel to it. It's not cakey at all.
Creamy, velvety. It provides a nice, somewhat sheer coverage that blurs out my lines and evens out my uneven tone. I don't need all of the serums and the moisturizer and the primer underneath foundation. This is skincare in a jar with just a little bit of color. Makes your skin look like you, but better.
This is beautiful. It makes my routine in the morning so fast. It makes me look like I have natural, beautiful skin. Look at my skin. Look, do you see any powdery, cakey, old-looking foundation? It's been life-changing for me. I can't believe it's taken me so long to find this foundation.
Like the video, fair use, reaction clip. Like the video.
And we haven't had to bring in the regular military, which we're willing to do. We have to. And after we do this, we'll go to another location and we'll make it safe also. We're going to make our country very safe. We're going to make our cities very, very safe. Chicago's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor, grossly incompetent. And we'll straighten that one out probably next. That'll be our next one after this. And it won't even be tough. And the people in Chicago, Mr. Vice President, are screaming for us to come. They're wearing red hats, just like this one. But they're wearing red hats. African-American ladies, beautiful ladies, are saying, please, President Trump, come to Chicago. Please. I did great with the black vote, as you know, and they want something to happen. So I think Chicago will be our next, and then we'll help with New York. We're going to help with, and I think a lot of these people that are on television, including the people in this audience, they'll say bad things about me, and then they'll say, thank God he's here. Because half of them got mugged, and they don't want to get mugged again. But they work for they work for stupid people that are radical left, and they're made to do things and say things that they don't want to be saying.
So spare me the lectures about being hysterical. If any president in any other country on earth spoke the way Trump speaks right now and committed the actions Trump is committing right now, there would be not a single person in the United States who would hesitate for a second when asked if he was a dictator. The fact that it's happening in the United States does not somehow absolve Donald Trump. Democracy doesn't just happen. You know the quote from Benjamin Franklin, a republic if we can keep it. The United States is not some enlightened subset of people who are immune to the dangerous effects of demagoguery. It's happened all over the world. Germany, Hungary, Russia, China, all over South America, Africa, and it's happening here. Trump is not some novel new figure in politics or political history. He is a tired rehash of the same kind of tin pot dictator surrounded by gold leaf and slavish devotees that we have seen for centuries. Like, I'm sorry, but take some fucking stock of where we are right now. Just 7 months into Trump's presidency, the U.S. military has been deployed to 2 major cities. Masked men with no insignia and who refuse to identify themselves are scooping people up off the streets. Tanks are rolling through Washington, D.C. He's tried to eliminate birthright citizenship, which is literally in the Constitution. He's disappeared people with zero due process to foreign gulags over in foreign countries like El Salvador. He's claimed that our elections are run by him, and he signed an illegal executive order demanding the elimination of mail ballots. I think the alarmist Democrat ship has sailed, and any commentator, any media outlet, any politician who is not treating this moment with the urgency that it deserves is failing their constituents, their viewers, and their country. So I beg of everyone, do not allow Republicans to manipulate you into thinking that Donald Trump is just joking when he says things that A, he would love to do, B, he's basically tried to do, and C, he likely will do.
Can I please get 20 more people to hit the subscribe button? We're almost at our goal for today. 20 more people to hit the subscribe button. We're almost at our goal today. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Let's continue. Fair use, reaction clip.
We gain nothing by allowing ourselves to be fooled. And in fact, we gain everything by waking up to the reality of the political environment that we're in right now. And that's a point that Gavin Newsom understood when he said this during our latest interview.
There's literally no more evidence than you need than the evidence that has been submitted in the first 6.5, 7 months of the Trump administration. And you think this is going to get better? You think if we just say, oh, well, Mr. Trump, it's fine. We know it's a race at the bottom. You may call upon those other states. Can you just do 5 and California will stand down? God damn it, enough. Democrats, stop being weak. Step up. These guys have been dominating the narrative. They have been defining the terms of the debate. It's time to get on our off our heels, onto our front toes. It's time to do just that. Dominate the narrative, flood the zone, and surround sound. It's time for us to all band together. As I said, this is not no do-over. This is it. Wake up to what's going on in this country. And I'll iterate, I'll try anything. That's what that represents. I'm just trying to break through, man. I'm just trying to be accountable, to be able to look at my kids and say, I woulda, coulda, shoulda, no, that I did everything I could. And you know what? See what fate brings. But we're going to put everything on the damn line. And that's why I'm proud of the folks from Texas. That's why I'm proud of folks showing up at the No Kings rally. People haven't given up yet. I'm telling you, we can win. We're going to do this.
So I hope that other governors, other legislators, other lawmakers, and senators see that forward-leaning posture and replicate it. And I will highlight it on my channel as much as I need to, so that hopefully the attention that Newsom is getting right now offers an incentive structure to other elected officials to do the same. If you present yourself as a fighter, you have a platform on my show. Because I know I speak for a lot of people on the left in saying that we are sick and tired of being the party of strongly worded letters, especially in light happening on the right now. We are sick and tired of putting up half-assed fights that ultimately end in...
So who do y'all prefer? Gavin or Newsom? Or do you prefer Trump? Or are you really upset with Newsom regarding the LA fires? Let me know in the comments. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 5 if you've been here before, where you're watching from. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We're 10 people away. Please hit the subscribe button. We're 10 people away from meeting our quota for today. Let's continue fair use reaction clip.
Because of norms, or the parliamentarian, or the filibuster. You never see those things stop Republicans. So often it feels like Republicans won't allow anything to tell them no, while Democrats will look for any excuse not to get to yes. So I hope this is a message loud and clear to every Democrat out there. We are tired of being rolled. We're tired of the strongly worded letters. We are tired of losing. Stand for something and fight for it. And most importantly, recognize the urgency of this moment. We are contending with a very, very serious threat to democracy. Trump is not joking when he says that he wants to cancel elections and install himself as a dictator. He is testing the fence. He is analyzing the pushback. He is normalizing us to this idea in very much the same way that deploying troops in D.C. and L.A. will normalize us to soldiers occupying our own country. Part of leading this moment is being eyes wide open, aware of the threats that we're contending with. Remember, Trump is not a comedian. He is an autocrat. And the faster we accept and recognize that, the faster we can fight back with the urgency that this moment calls for.
Like the video, like the video. Thanks for being here, everyone. Let me see if there was one more I wanted to play. Like the video as you guys come in. Thanks for supporting the channel. I really appreciate everyone for being here. Let me know how you feel about all the news that's going on. Let me know how you feel about all the news that's going on. Hit the like button. We're 10 people away, you guys. We're 10 people away. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you for tuning in. Let's continue fair use reaction clip.
David Rothkopf, a columnist for the Daily Beast, and Chris, bring in some of our reporters and analysts standing by with us. Much to discuss with NBC News White House correspondent Yemi Shalcindor, also with us, Dan Lamothe. He is a Pentagon reporter at the Washington Post. David Rothkopf, a columnist for the Daily Beast, and Christina Greer, associate professor of political science at Fordham University. So, Yemi, the White House has taken several new steps in this so-called crime crackdown. The president signing right now an executive order on cashless bail. He says it'll start in D.C., but he wants to end it nationwide, as the administration also plans to deploy troops to other cities. Get us up to speed.
Well, this is really President Trump tightening his grip on Washington, D.C. The president is trying to use every federal tool in his toolbox to try to really exert power over Washington, D.C. What we're seeing right now as he's signing this executive order is the president essentially trying to force Washington, D.C. to do away with its cashless bail system, which has been in a policy of the city since 1992. I can also tell you that the crime rates since 1992 have fallen. Essentially, what cashless bail says is that if you are someone who is charged with a crime, money is not going to be the reason that why you're free or not free. It's going to be whether or not you are someone who's seen as violent or as a flight risk. It gives judges the discretion to do that. We've also seen just in the last year, the D.C. mayor actually pushed for even more expanded detention. So the D.C. mayor has in some ways already tightened the grip in terms of detentions. The president also going to be signing a second executive order targeting nationwide cashless bail. And that's going to be looking at states like Illinois, which of course has Chicago. It's a place that the president has targeted over and over again. And what that executive order says is that the president wants his staff to go through and find every jurisdiction, every state that has a cashless bail system, and then he wants to find federal grants or programs or ways for the federal government to take money away from those states or cities to try to force them to end their cashless bail system. Now, the president just said that this is really a dangerous system that puts people that are on the street and violent criminals on the street. Experts and people who are against a cash bail system say that really cash bail systems, all it does is hurt people who are low income. People might spend years, months in prison that aren't any more violent than someone who just had the money to get out of prison. So experts say that the cash bail system just really doesn't work, and that's why D.C. and other places don't have it. It's definitely going to be another fight here because Washington, D.C. is now going to have to decide if it wants to follow through with this or if it might lose even more federal funding than it already has on it.
And Christina, what is your reaction to this cashless bail executive order?
I mean, it's part of the president's agenda of his revenge tour on cities that are honestly led by African-American leadership. I mean, we see the cities that he's targeting: Baltimore, Chicago, Los Angeles, and Washington, D.C. As he continues to defund so many parts of this country and really weaken the economy in so many communities throughout the country, it will just further his agenda to militarize certain communities. I mean, this is frightening at best in the sense that so many people in the Republican Party are standing by while the president uses the power of the executive order to take rights away from citizens of this nation. I think it is incredibly important to really look at the cities that he's targeting because his image of cities, especially cities with large black populations, are seen as this criminal entity. And as the data continues to show, and you've laid that out quite clearly, so many of these cities, obviously they are not perfect. They're large cities with millions of people, but the trend has been downward. And so as he continues to defund so many aspects of this nation, he's only making cities less safe on so many different levels.
And we'll continue to monitor this. He is expected to potentially take questions, so we'll dip back in at that point. But Dan, the other big development we've been following is the National Guard troops there in the nation's capital overnight now starting to carry firearms. It's already been a couple of weeks, of course, with troops on the ground there. What is your understanding of this change? Why arm them now?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're looking at a couple things here. One, the number of National Guard in D.C. has increased over the last several days. I think there's a question over how they may be used, whether they'll be sent into other neighborhoods. Some of those neighborhoods, I think, do have a fair assessment would be at least a greater security risk to the Guardsmen. I think another read here, the Guardsmen, I think, are also under some degree of risk. They are kind of stuck here in the middle, and they are a target as well.
And you've also been closely following the White House plan to crack down in cities like Chicago, including using it as a way to ramp up deportation efforts. The president talked a little bit about Chicago even in this Oval Office moment. So how is this supposed to work there in Chicago?
Yeah, the Washington Post scooped on Saturday that there is active planning to send troops to Chicago. It could be National Guard. It could be active duty. The most likely scenario is that we would see National Guard, something akin to the deployment we saw in Los Angeles in June. If that were to occur, you're likely very quickly going to run into the legal contest. There is still an active legal battle over whether the deployment to Los Angeles was legal.
Right, that is still pending. The president claimed otherwise. David, in your new piece, you write about the ways the Trump administration is, as you describe it, trying to transform the government into a weapon to serve its grievances. How does this crackdown in D.C. and perhaps beyond fit into that strategy? Paramount Plus is available on YouTube.
Like the video, fair use reaction clip.
D.C. and perhaps beyond fit into that strategy.
Well, the president is trying to arrogate all power in this country into himself, and then to impose his will across the country without any regard for the laws that have governed the country for the past couple hundred years. He has complete contempt for states' rights, complete contempt for cities, complete contempt for voters. I thought it was very telling in the brief bit that you showed before we came on that the president made this little aside like, well, some people say they would like to have a dictator. Why would he say that? Because clearly that's the direction he's heading. Clearly, we are in the midst of seeing a police state established in the United States with one man, not the law, one man guiding the actions of that police state and lying about it. Because the other thing you saw in the clips we've seen just now is Trump issuing forth a tsunami of lies about the situation, about what he's done, about what has happened since then. He's lying to protect the fact that he is initiating this police state reality in the United States of America.
And Christina, you touched on the fact that so many of the cities that he's targeting have black mayors. And when you look at the facts, 13 of the 20 U.S. cities with the highest murder rates are actually in Republican-run states. So how do you square what's going on here?
Well, he doesn't need to square it because his supporters don't need facts or evidence. They just need the president to say it and repeat it. I mean, what we're looking at is, in so many ways, Donald Trump is a political arsonist. He sets the fire and then he comes in and says that he saves it. And so what he consistently does is create problems. I mean, he's both the hero and the victim of his own story, but every accusation that he makes is a real confession. He knows these cities, if they're struggling economically, it's because he's defunding said cities. He says that, museums are the problem. It's because he wants to erase realities of American history. And so obviously, so many of the cities with black mayors are in states with Democratic governors. We think about, New York City, where it's looking like we might have a progressive mayor January 1st with our Democratic mayor, or Democratic Governor Kathy Hochul. We've got Pritzker, who's looking, more and more like a 2028 contender in Illinois. You've got Gavin Newsom, who's also in conversations about 2028 running for the presidency. And so these are specific targets. And we've also seen Donald Trump now starting to go after people he perceived are his enemies. And so, we saw with Tish James, the Attorney General of New York. We're seeing with other African-American women across the country. But this type of targeting, especially on an individual level, not just for Democrats, but now even people from his own party who dare to speak out against him, we're entering into an authoritarian regime. I think we're already there. And as was said, when he says these little asides, some people say they want a dictator. It's because he is surrounding himself with courts and members of his own party in Congress who are abdicating their own power to let him run roughshod over the Constitution. And so many things that many Americans thought were laws, we now realize are just norms. And things that are laws, we recognize that we don't even have the institutions that have enough people to enforce many of said laws. And so the brakes and the levers to curtail some of this power are weakening on the daily basis, especially as he signs executive orders, giving himself more and more power.
Well, even during this executive order signing session, if you will, what we were just witnessing there, as Christina was talking, I'm told, was somebody giving him an honorary U.S. Marshals Service badge. David, it seems like he is surrounded by people in his cabinet and beyond who are just reinforcing these kinds of instincts that the president has to take over.
But that was his purpose all along. It's why he picked a group of people who were widely regarded as incompetent or sycophants. He's been planning to send troops into American cities since he was the president the last time. Remember, when the BLM protests started, he wanted to send in troops. He wanted to shoot protesters. And then his Secretary of Defense and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs said no. So what did he do this time? He looked for a bunch of patsies who would stand around, say, yes, sir, isn't it beautiful that you're sitting in this gilded office with these idiotic trophies around you, and we'll do whatever you want. Sadly, the Supreme Court of the United States and the Congress of the United States have also been completely passive in living up to their constitutional responsibilities. And as a result, this one guy with this kind of crazed agenda, who's getting more crazed on a daily basis, is actually able to impose his will on the country. And very, very few people in positions of power in Washington are standing up to him.
Like the video, fair use, reaction clip. Like the video as you guys come in. Like the video as you guys come in. Thanks for supporting the channel. If I can get 10 more people to hit subscribe, we'll meet the quota for today. 10 more people to hit the subscribe, we'll meet the quota for today. Thanks for tuning in.
Trump says the people of Chicago are calling out for him to intervene. He says some people want a dictator, who said he was not that, though. How does the city of Chicago feel about Donald Trump's desire to send in the troops?
Well, thank you for having me. And let me just start by saying I saw that clip where he says he's not a dictator, but I don't know too many people who have to spend a lot of their time explaining to others that they're not a dictator unless they're trying to be one. I mean, look, I'm someone who has been born and raised in the city of Chicago. I've spent my entire career here. I've raised my family here. No one is asking for him to come to Chicago. Donald Trump is not focused on creating safer communities. He's only trying to really create chaos. And he's doing so because he is a small man. He is a wannabe dictator who can't stand the thought of not being right in the center of attention. He's a weak man. And from my standpoint, all he wants to do is feed his ego and distract from his many failures as the president. So that's how we view it. And I can tell you that Governor Pritzker and I are not going to roll out the red carpet for this wannabe dictator.
What exactly will you do?
Well, look, I mean, we are going to work with all of our stakeholders as we have been. I mean, from the very beginning of this administration, we have made it clear that we are going to protect our people. We are going to follow the law. We are going to work with our partners in such as the business community, such as our attorney general.
Yeah, but what does any of that mean? I mean, does it mean that you block him from going in? What does it effectively mean?
Well, what it means is that we have everything on the table to make sure that, number one, we first of all speak out and make it clear that he is not welcomed here. That's the very first thing. That is a message that we have made very clear. They have not reached out to us. We have not made any request for these resources. There's no need for these additional resources right now. Chicago is not a city that is looking to have Donald Trump send armed militia. That is not the way that you bring safety to our communities, have armed militia roaming the streets. Secondly, as you've seen, we've been partnering with our attorney general, the city of Chicago, and all of it at every level of government to make sure if there are other processes that we need to proceed, we will do so. But I've been leading public safety in a role of public safety for our administration. I've done that my whole life. I lead the Justice, Equity, and Opportunity Initiative. And if Donald Trump is claiming this is about making communities safer at a time that we've seen crime go down here in the city of Chicago, that is not what this is about. And we have to call it out.
Crime has gone down, you're right. And the numbers do show that. The first half of 2025, lowest number of homicides since 2014, which is, it's good, it's better. But aggravated assaults hit a 20-year high in 2024. And when you're still talking about, it's the lowest since 2014, I don't think anyone's celebrating, that we have fewer homicides. People would like no homicides. They'd like safer streets. So I wonder if you think there is, I know problem is a loaded word, but if crime is still an issue that has yet to be fully dealt with in Chicago, and if there's a way to deal with it without Donald Trump, because right now his argument that, the Democrats are saying that crime is no big deal, and that's effective among some corners or among some populations in this country.
Have never used that language. What I'm saying is we've been making progress by doing what we do here in Illinois, and that is leading. We've made progress. I lead something called the Restore, Reinvest, and Renew program. We have invested millions, tens of millions of dollars into our communities for youth programs, for economic development, for violence prevention. We have the Peacekeepers programs in partnership with the city of Chicago where there's direct on-the-street intervention. It is not by sending armed militia. No one is asking for that. Illinoisans are not saying, please come to our state and have troops walking down the street. Business owners aren't asking for that. Do you think it's good for business for that while, people want to go out to dinner and you see armed troops walking down the street or people in uniforms? That is not something that is good for business. Do you think it's good for people like my daughter who goes to school and is in 4th grade to have to focus on learning, but she's getting out and heading to her school and having to see that? That is not something that is focused on making people safer. It is to instill fear, and it is all to stoke the ego.
Do you think what happened in D.C. when they saw those guys sitting on the porch and the police was asking for his ID and the guy said, I'm just sitting on my porch. And then he was like, okay, tell your friends, we're out here. We're out here. And people were like, no, that's not how it should be. If they're privately sitting on their porch, not bothering nobody, that's what caused an issue. People were talking about that. Those people should not be harassed by sitting on their porch, just smoking a cigarette. People were really upset about that. And a lot of cities don't want that. But a lot of cities need the help if the crime is up. So will he go to Chicago? Will he go where there is a lot of crimes? And maybe he will go to the cities that has a lot of crimes, not just Chicago. Maybe he will go to Mississippi and other cities. Like the videos, you guys come in. You guys, we only need 10 more people to hit the subscribe button. 10 more people to hit the subscribe button. Do you think he's doing a good job going into those cities, even if it's for a week or two? Will that bring the crime down? And then see what the numbers are. Like the video, like the video.
Dictator who is Donald Trump.
Yeah, I mean, there were numbers that the Times was reporting on in Washington, D.C. that showed that, despite what Donald Trump claims, that dining out at restaurants in D.C. was down after the federal takeover, that people were not feeling good about going out, certainly not enough to go out and eat dinner out. One quick question. I showed that clip of Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland, telling Donald Trump what the state would actually need. Is there something that you would ask for? Donald Trump wants to send in troops. What could you use better from the federal government to help the city?
What I would say is that while Donald Trump is busy playing dictator, American families are suffering because of his failures. And what are the people of Illinois asking? I get to talk to them all the time as I'm on this path of running for United States Senate. Look at what the tariffs have done. It's raised prices for working class families and everyday goods. He's stripping people away of their health care. Guess what people want right now? They want access to quality, affordable health care. He's made it harder to put food on the table. No family is asking for that. So if he wants to do something, stop taking away what will help American families succeed and move up in life. Access to opportunity. That's what people want. And by the way, when you do that, you will see safer communities as well.
Madam Lieutenant Governor, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Like the video, like the video. So should he continue to go into cities whether they want his help or not? Should he continue to go into cities whether they want his help or not? Do you think it's right, not right? Do you think that DC is better now? Let me know if you're from DC. Is it better or has it gotten worse? Let me know in the comments. Are you from DC? Do you know anyone from DC? Has things gotten better?
Claims has already sold out. It's certainly amusing, but are people buying the message or just the merch? Joining us now, Semaphore politics reporter Dave Weigel, former Senator Heidi Heitkamp, and Tim Miller are also with us. Senator, I like your smile on this. You clearly find it amusing.
Well, absolutely. I mean, this is what I've been saying for a long time. You don't need to emulate his policies, but he's a damn good salesman. And when, people are looking for someone who will take it to him, will give him as good as what he's dishing out. And I think Gavin Newsom's smart to model some of these behaviors. And this merch is just one step in his further march forward to position himself as the maybe heir apparent to the Democratic message.
Dave, you read about this today. You say it's too simple to look at Newsom and see a 2028 presidential campaign. The party's primary voters are going to be hyper-focused on electability, which their last California nominee could not give them. The drive to draw 5 more Democratic seats, overwhelming rural Republicans with votes from blue cities, is a test of Trump-infused, MAGA-hating liberalism. Explain.
Well, it goes right into the reasons for the merchandise. There is an attitude in Democratic politics that is diminished that you can sum up as, we're better than that. We're not going to copy Donald Trump's tactics. His tactics are offensive to us. Surely we can appeal to people's better angels. That has been fading very quickly. And Newsom has been at the forefront of that. And this is how he defends the redistricting. But it all comes from a place of defending pluralism, defending liberalism, defending California. California is an epithet in Republican politics. Swing states. California is seen as an example of what not to do. And Newsom has been trying to turn that on his head. I saw him do this in South Carolina. Say that, no, actually, diversity is a strength. We want more immigrants. We want more rights for people, for LGBT people, and it's going to make your economy work better. Mocking Donald Trump as part of that, saying, one, not only do California Democrats have a good set of policies, but we don't take this guy seriously. That's what he's trying to do.
Tim, is Dave right about that? I mean, is California kryptonite for the broad electorate?
I think it's going to be a tough sell, but I don't know. We're 3 years away. I think doing 2028 hot stove speculation probably has limited value right now. I think what he's doing in the short term makes sense. What he's doing as far as the redistricting fight is obviously smart. It's what Democratic voters are looking for. It's what Democrats should be doing, given that the battle for the House is going to be so important when it comes to oversight of Trump, things of that nature. I think a lot of the stuff he's doing on social media is funny. It's getting attention. People that are less engaged with politics are seeing it. I think that's a good thing. I don't know who would actually wear the hat, so I'm not sure about the execution on it, because it looks a little too much like the Trump hat, and I don't know. You'd have to really look closely. But besides that, I think it's good short term, and who the heck knows what will be working and relevant in 2027.
Yeah, he's got the memes and the Twitter or the social media style down. He's also got the trolling going. Here's a birthday post that he sent to Stephen Miller with a photo of Voldemort. Okay, let me play. Let me play JD Vance. This show was taking a turn. Let me play JD Vance on Fox.
It had her tickled.
Newsom isn't authentic.
So this idea that Gavin Newsom is somehow going to mimic Donald Trump's style, I think that ignores the fundamental genius of President Trump's political success, which is that he's authentic. He just is who he is. You've got to be yourself. You've actually got to talk to people honestly about the issues. I don't think it's that complicated. Don't be a crazy person. Be authentic. If the Democrats did that, they'd do a hell of a lot better.
Authentic? Is that the issue? That it's not authentic, Heidi?
Well, I mean, how ridiculous, just be yourself. And, Gavin Newsom is right in that he knows that the tactics that Trump uses to sell himself, which is kind of a wink and a nod, poking a little bit of fun at yourself, they work. People say, oh, well, he can't be corrupt if he's doing it out in the open. And he says stuff and he's just waiting for you to get a reaction. And I think that's what Newsom understands. And I think that's what the Democrats are hungry for, is somebody who's going to fight back and somebody who's going to have a little fun with it. And so we'll see if it works, if it doesn't work. But one thing I think that he is definitely trolling him on is, I'm better looking than you are. And, does that work? Who knows? I mean, Donald Trump's pretty sensitive about his criticism about his weight and his height, or he wouldn't lie about it.
I could go without the, images of Donald Trump topless as Rambo, and I could also go without the images of Gavin Newsom topless riding a bear as well, but that's just me. I wonder, though, David, if this is just a different version of the same strategy the Democrats have been trying to deploy against Donald Trump now for 10 years, which is that don't vote. It's a don't vote for him. He's terrible. He's a joke. He's not serious. He's dangerous. He's not democratic. Vote for us instead. It's not a pro-Democrat message. It's an anti-Trump message.
But it comes from a pretty emotional place, not a strategic place. Gavin Newsom got out of this election, had a campaign first for Joe Biden, then for Kamala Harris. Not sure why his version of politics had been rejected the way it had. And stage one of dealing with that was having a podcast where he talked to conservatives and maybe admitted in some areas that his party had gone too far. Step two is this, is mockery, because this does feel, we don't expect sincerity from politicians, we expect some cynicism. This feels very sincere. Newsom has complete contempt for Trump, complete contempt for his nicknames. You saw it when he was reacting to the mobilization in Los Angeles after a few cars were burned there, and LA was being made an example. This comes from a place of real contempt. So is it a smart strategy that they focus groups? I think it's less that than Gavin Newsom getting sick of dealing with Donald Trump.
That's a good point. I want to put up the Voldemort image again, because there's just something about Voldemort smiling with a birthday hat that I think.
We're almost at 100 likes, you guys. If I can get the 45 people to double tap that screen to hit the like. We're almost at 100 likes. Please hit the like button if you already haven't hit the like button. There's about 52 people. If every 52 people hit the like button, we will hit 100 likes. Double tap the screen to hit the like button. It's free. Please double tap the screen to hit the like button. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We did hit our quota for today, and thank you for subscribing.
Just take a text out of it. I think that just the image is quite funny. Maybe it's just me.
Thank you.
Senator Heidi Heitkamp, thank you so much. Dave Weigel, things are getting weird here today.
Yeah, very interesting news for today. Many people are wondering what's going to happen with these cities that do still have a lot of crime. What's going to happen? Some of these cities still have a lot of crime. What's going to happen? Will he go into the cities without getting the approval? And will some of these cities do?
Is how he's been able to live at home in North Carolina under his mother's care. That could change, though, because of how President Trump's big, beautiful bill is shifting how federal funding is spent across the country. And according to David's mother, Rachel, North Carolina state legislators have already chosen not to fully fund the state's Medicaid program for the upcoming fiscal year. Rachel Roth-Altizer joins us now. In addition to being her son's caretaker, she's a writer and visiting fellow at the Ethics and Public Policy Center. Thanks for being here, Rachel. I appreciate your time.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm really grateful to be here.
You call yourself in the New York Times op-ed that you wrote about this, a proud conservative, and that you're coming from at this in from a conservative perspective. And you want to make that clear, I think, for obvious reasons. I want to ask you, you talk about how Medicaid is your village. Explain that to me.
Yeah, so I'd love to start just by sharing a bit about my son, David. He was born, as you said, with a set of life-threatening congenital abnormalities. I'm so proud and grateful to be David's mom. But caring for David is challenging in a way that is difficult to describe unless you've also cared for a profoundly disabled child 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 4 years. We require a village in order to make David's life work. David's extensive medical conditions mean that he actually meets the criteria for institutional level care, health care. And thanks to this Medicaid program, we're actually able to provide that care in our very home. That is not work that my husband and I could ever possibly do alone. Nothing has humbled me quite like parenting a profoundly disabled child, because the gap between what I can provide as a parent and between what David needs is insurmountable. Thanks to Medicaid, it fills that gap.
You don't have a way to do this without that Medicaid funding?
Absolutely not. David is one of 3,700 children living with profound disabilities in North Carolina. Thousands of other children like David exist all across our country. These children rely on these optional Medicaid waivers called community and home-based service waivers that give children like David an opportunity to live at home where they belong with their families instead of spend their lives in a medical institution.
There was talk that the funding for Medicaid wouldn't affect programs like yours, but you say that's not true.
I think there's a lot that's left remain to be seen about how exactly federal cuts will impact programs like David. But what I can tell you on the ground in North Carolina, what's happening right now is that our Republican-held state legislature is voluntarily reducing our Medicaid budget by $319 million. Because state Medicaid programs operate on a matching basis, that means the real reduction there is around $1 billion. Families like mine are scared. We're worried, we're concerned. How are we going to be able to care for our children? They desperately need these services. We're worried about providers leaving the Medicaid program, our children being able to access life-enhancing services. Yeah, we're concerned all across the board.
You know, programs like mine are airing all over the Capitol right now. Could be airing inside the White House at this moment. It's been known to happen. If you want to get a message to President Trump directly, what is that message?
You know, my son is not a Republican or a Democrat. He's just an American citizen who's extremely vulnerable. He needs the support of each of our dollars, a little bit of that dollar going to support his life. Medicaid makes David's life possible. I'm extremely grateful to the Medicaid program that David's enrolled in for allowing his quality of life to be what it is and for him to be at home in our family where he belongs.
You know, I should have started with this, and I'm sorry for not, but tell me a little bit more about what David has done for your life, what he brings to you every day.
I think each of us, you know, has something that gets us up in the morning. What gets us going? For me, it's being a voice for my son. He's not able to talk, walk, eat independently. David needs maximal care for the rest of his life. I'm privileged to be able to provide that care for my son. I'm grateful that Medicaid sees the value in what I can give him. David's life has immense worth and value. And when a portion of your dollar goes to supporting children like David, you're participating in charity.
You write in the op-ed, and I'll read it, how we care for our most vulnerable reveals what we believe about ourselves. I'm just one mother, and David is just one child, but this affects your neighbors, this affects you. At one point or another, most of us will lose independence, health, rationality, and will. Eventually, we will rely wholly on someone else to care for us. Dependence, weakness, need of others, these are features, not bugs, of the human experience. Really well put. Rachel Roth-Altheiser, thank you very, very much for joining us today.
Okay, so copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarships, and research. Fair use is use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All comments are alleged in our opinion and for entertainment purposes only. Don't forget, focus on healthy, safe relationships. Be around people that's loving, kind, and respectful. We're almost at 100 likes. If I can get 20 people to hit the thumbs up above the video, below the video. 50 people to hit the thumbs up above the video, below the video. We're almost at 100 likes. Please hit the like button. Please hit the like button, you guys. We're almost at 100 likes. We're almost at 100 likes. Please hit the like button. It helps keep me in the algorithm. Thank you. It helps keep me in the algorithm. We're almost at 100 likes. Thanks for being here, everyone. We've covered a lot of news today. I've been live for almost 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Epstein documents released by the DOJ, and it found only 3%. Not much new here. That's the conclusion by Democrats on the House Oversight Committee after their initial review of more than 33,000 pages of Epstein documents released by the DOJ, and it found only 3% contain any new information. A DOJ spokesperson said it provided more than was ever requested. Joining us now, ranking member of the House Oversight Committee, California Democrat Robert Garcia. It's good to have you back on the show, Congressman. What do you believe is new here, and has it opened any new lanes of the investigation?
Well, first, that statement made by that spokesperson is just a complete fabrication. We received 33,000 pages of documents from the Epstein files. Of those 33,000 pages, 97% of them were essentially records that were already in the public domain. These are court documents, reports, records that have been accessible to the public now for, in some cases, for many, many months. And so not a lot of new information. There were some flight logs that were additional and new. About 1,000 pages of the 33,000 pages were actually new documents, of which, of course, we're reviewing. So we spent the weekend, our committee and our team, just going through that entire first batch. And it's clear that this cover-up by the White House and the DOJ continues. The subpoena, which was bipartisan, and the Democrats forced Republicans to vote on, made it clear that we wanted the full unredacted Epstein files, and the White House and the DOJ continue to stall. And the question must be asked, what are they hiding?
So do you have a sense of what you think that is? And what, being in the minority, we talk about this all the time, what options do you have to get more transparency?
Well, the White House and DOJ have no options than to just release all the files. I mean, they're making their fee. They have said they're going to release all of them to us. The fact that they gave us this first kind of tranche of documents in a way that they wanted to put them out, and the same day that they kind of released the Ghislaine Maxwell transcript, they're clearly trying to divert attention. They're trying to create distractions. They know that the American public is focused on justice for these victims, and that they know that the American public understand and don't know why Donald Trump flip-flopped from a campaign promise to where we are now. Let's remind everyone, Pam Bondi, the AG, said that the Epstein files were on her desk, that they were ready to go. And then they completely changed course. The documents that we want are the client list, folks that were involved in the abuse. We want to ensure that people that actually caused harm to these young women and girls actually face accountability. And we want to understand what Jeffrey Epstein was doing with all of these connections that he had built around the world and in our country. So that's what we're looking for. We won't stop till we get the full files.
So whether it is, the documents or a Maxwell interview, have you heard anything, even behind the scenes, from your Republican colleagues that they have any level of frustration surrounding this?
There is some frustration. I mean, for example, there's members of the committee, Republicans, some have gone public, that they don't understand why, for example, we haven't subpoenaed Alex Acosta. Alex Acosta, of course, was the one that put together that original Jeffrey Epstein deal that he received. He probably knows more about this case than almost anyone. He went on to become Trump's Secretary of Labor, as we all know. And so there are some Republicans that want more information, but the reality is that they are stonewalling. Mike Johnson is playing a cover-up game. He has no interest in actually releasing these files. The only reason we're getting some type of disclosure is because Democrats forced it on the committee. And so the question has to be continued to be asked. What are they hiding? Why aren't they releasing the files? We've said we don't care who is impacted, how powerful they are, what party they're from. If you've caused harm to young girls, if you have helped these horrific people like Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, who are essentially sex traffickers and pedophiles, we should hold these folks accountable, and it's time to stop this cover-up.
As you well know, Congressman, the Supreme Court still has to decide whether it will review Maxwell's sex offender conviction. So the Oversight Committee postponed its deposition of Maxwell, I think at least until mid-October, if I'm right. Does that make sense to you, to wait to see what the Supreme Court does?
Absolutely not. I mean, that decision, of course, was made by James Comer and the House Republicans who unfortunately hold the majority. They can make these decisions. We wanted to get Ghislaine Maxwell in immediately. And what they ended up doing is they created a smokescreen. Instead of Ghislaine Maxwell coming in front of a bipartisan group of members of Congress to be asked tough questions and to be asked questions that can get answers, they delay her deposition and instead have the Deputy Attorney General or Trump's former personal lawyer, which Todd Blanche was, literally Donald Trump's personal lawyer becomes the Deputy AG. He becomes the person asking Ghislaine Maxwell the questions. Then she gets moved to a less secure prison for no reason that has yet to be explained by anyone. And so this snowball continues. But one thing is clear is that the American public is focused on this issue and they want answers. And they feel betrayed by Donald Trump. If Donald Trump's going to lie to them about this issue, he's going to continue to lie to them about their health care, about the economy, about lowering costs. This just goes straight to the idea that Donald Trump and his administration are involved not just in a cover-up, but in corruption, and in major government corruption, and we need to get the truth out there.
Well, assuming that Ghislaine Maxwell at some point does come before your committee, do you have any expectation?
We're almost at 100 likes. Please hit the like button, the thumbs up above the video, below the video. Please hit the like button, and thank you.
That you'll get the answers you want from her?
Well, look, that's going to be up to her. First, we got to be clear. Ghislaine Maxwell is a convicted sex trafficker. She's a horrific person who's been convicted of horrible crimes and has caused enormous violence to children and to young girls. And so what she says has to be taken into account with the knowledge that she also wants a pardon or reduced sentence from Donald Trump. So absolutely, that is first and foremost clear and top of mind. But she should be asked tough questions. She should be asked to corroborate her information with what's actually in the files, which is why it's so important that we get them. And so she was voted to be deposed in a bipartisan vote. We will conduct that interview, but we need to conduct that interview and not wait, which is what the Republicans will continue to do around Snow. And knowing, by the way, and reminding folks that she obviously is a horrific person and a known liar.
And
Congressman Robert Garcia, thank you for
just to think she's already been moved and relocated. So that's already showing her favoritism for her to be moved and relocated. Who's the 100 names? Who's the 100 names that she gave up? Okay, they released it, and she's basically saying she saw nothing of Trump doing anything that was inappropriate. So was that the plan all along for her to make that statement? Real talk. Like the video, fair use reaction clip. So was that the plan all along? Come interview, give a statement that you saw nothing wrong and will relocate you? Like the videos, you guys come in.
According to a Defense Department official, while a small number of the troops will be armed with their Service M4 rifles. National Guard troops were seen walking around the city with pistols holstered on their hips and MP patches, designating their role as military police. They are authorized to use weapons for self-protection only. Meanwhile, new reporting reveals the Pentagon has been planning a military deployment to Chicago for weeks. Officials familiar with the matter tell the Washington Post that the planning involves several options, including mobilizing at least a few thousand members of the National Guard to the city as soon as next month. President Trump mentioned the city on Friday while speaking to reporters in the Oval Office.
Chicago's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor, grossly incompetent, and we'll straighten that one out probably next. That'll be our next one after this, and it won't even be tough. And the people in Chicago, Mr. Vice President, are screaming for us to come.
In an interview yesterday, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson said Trump's threats are unconstitutional and costly.
This president is not taking his role and his responsibility as serious as mayors like myself and across the country are, because we actually have to show up and deliver for people, where he gets to show up and make a mockery out of our democracy. It's unconstitutional, it's illegal, it's costly, and it's not going to drive violence down in our city. The work that we're doing is working. If he's serious, he would work with us.
Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker also weighed in, accusing the president of, quote, attempting to manufacture a crisis and abusing his power.
You know, the thing about this is, of course, we've talked about Washington, D.C. It's the nation's capital. Federal government, Congress could get involved, work with the president, and together, as we've been talking about, Reverend Al, for a long time, figure out how to partner with the city. And that hasn't happened. And now we're talking about Chicago. We're talking about New York City. Neither one of those cities are the top 10 for most violent cities in America. And if you want to look per capita, they need to do no more than look to Mike Johnson's home state, the Speaker of the House, and look at violence per capita.
Can I get 10 more people to hit the subscribe button? We're almost at 100. Can I get 10 people to hit the thumbs up? We're almost at 100 likes. Please double tap the screen or hit the thumbs up above the video, below the video. Thumbs up. 10 more people to please hit the subscribe button, and thank you. And thank you for the people that hit the subscribe button. Thank you, thank you. 10 more people to hit the thumbs up above the video, below the video. Thank you. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. We're almost at 100 likes. 10 more people. Thumbs up. Thank you. Above the video, below the video.
You have a much higher chance of dying in Monroe, Louisiana than you do Chicago, Illinois. A much higher chance of dying in Shreveport, Louisiana than you do in Monroe. A much higher chance of dying in New Orleans, Louisiana than you do in New York City. I mean, New York, that's fabulously crazy. New York City continues to rank as one of the safest large cities in America. And I think that there's a close second. So there are all of these cities and towns in red state America. You can look Little Rock, Arkansas.
Thank you.
You can look at Shreveport, Louisiana. You can look at New Orleans, Louisiana. You can look at Memphis, Tennessee. You can look at Nashville, Tennessee. You can look at one red state after another, Bessemer, Alabama, and you will see violent crime rates much higher per capita than Chicago, Illinois, San Francisco. You know, Gavin Newsom yesterday. Look, okay, here we go. The chance of having violent acts committed upon you in Mike Johnson's Louisiana, in red state Louisiana, red state that Donald Trump carried and every Republican has carried since Bill Clinton, the chances of being murdered in Louisiana, 400 times higher than in California. Let me say that again. Let me underline that again. You have a 400% higher chance of being murdered in red state Louisiana.
5 more people to please hit the thumbs up. 5 more people to please hit the thumbs up. Above the video, below the video. 5 more people. Thank you. We're almost at 100 likes. Thank you for tuning in.
Mike Johnson's home state than you do
Thank you.
on the left coast in Gavin Newsom's California. There is no emergency. There is no logic to Chicago, to San Francisco. If you're looking at the numbers, if you're looking at data, I don't even think this Supreme Court can turn a blind eye to this. They just can't, because data is data, numbers are numbers, and the numbers are clear. And the numbers don't justify it. No emergency. Send those troops to Shreveport, Louisiana. Send them to Mike Johnson's district. Send them to Little Rock, Arkansas. Send them to Memphis and Nashville, Tennessee. Send them to red states where they need them.
And the data would say that that's what they needed. You know, I preached in Washington, D.C. yesterday at Howard University. People feel they're under siege. They are being picked on. When you look at the cities the president has named, all of those cities have declining crime rates, and all of them have black mayors. There's a racial element that he's race dog whistling here. He will not.
And all of them have lower crime rates per capita than the red state cities I mentioned.
And he would not dare do that to his red state senators. Why would he have sat with Mayor Bowser and say, how do we work this out if he really thought there was a problem? He didn't think there was a problem. He was trying to create a situation and create some kind of picture that these people cannot run their cities. And that is why this is bad for everyone. I rode around Washington after preaching, and in the areas that there are crimes that have been worked on by Mayor Bowser and others, you didn't even see National Guard. They're down in Georgetown. People are not coming out and going to restaurants because they feel intimidated. There's no winners in this, and the president is going forward rather than saying let's retreat and see what we're doing here, since it's a 30-day window in Washington unless Congress extends it. He says, I'm going to Chicago, I'm going to Oakland, I'm going anywhere there is a Democrat and a black man now is at risk, and that's no way we run.
How about Memphis? How about Birmingham, Alabama? How about New Orleans, Louisiana? How about the red states? Again, if you're just looking at the hard data. And again, in Washington, D.C., I'm the first to say, let's have a partnership.
Right.
Let's get the federal government, let's get the state government, or the local government, the D.C. government, let's get them working together with a partnership. Be positive. Get things done. Create partnerships. That would make a big difference.
That's not exactly what's happening.
That is not what's happening at all.
Monroe. Here's a local report from a news station in Monroe, Louisiana, just this month. While crime levels there may have dropped from the pandemic era, cuts to government funding by lawmakers continue to put pressure on the community when it comes to crime.
The NAACP president of the Monroe Washita branch says, based on his perspective, he agrees that there has been a decrease in crime since 2020. However, he believes there has been spikes from 2024 to 2025. These recent spikes to changes in government systems and added pressure to mental health.
How are we going to survive? We can't pay bills. We can't choose what we want for our kids. What do we do? You know? And so what do you do when your child is hungry, your wife is hungry, your family is hungry? You try to get into survival mode. But the young people have a real young growing mind, and they are receptive to understanding. Okay, tell me what you're talking about. Make it live for me. Come on, you know. And they will listen. If you can convince young people how this is going to affect their very lives, more so than us as seasoned people, I turn this thing around.
You know, John, when you're talking about slashing funding for Louisiana, or taking $1 billion from Washington D.C.'s budget, there was an emergency. I mean, there's an emergency. You take $1 billion away, yeah, suddenly things get real, and that's what's happened in Washington D.C. And again, get them away from the Apple store in Georgetown, right? Get them to Southeast. Get them to places where families want to be safe, but in a partnership with the mayor, with the D.C. City Council, with the very people that run that city day in and day out.
And it's where these Guard members have been deployed that gives up the game here. They haven't been sent to the high crime areas in Southeast other places, or at very least very glancing passes through. Instead, we're seeing them in Georgetown, as the Rev said, where there's very, very little crime. We're seeing them around the mall and the national monuments, deployed near the Lincoln Memorial, which is one of the safest places in the nation. It's pointless, and that's why it passes pro-up. There's such concern of a city like Chicago, which, first of all, we should note, according to city police statistics, murders, robberies, shootings, all down about 30% in Chicago this year. A city that, to be sure, in years past has had issues with violent crime, confined to a handful of neighborhoods. Well, if the model from D.C. is applied to Chicago, that's not where these National Guard troops would be sent. Instead, they'd be hanging out, by the lake, the Magnificent Mile, the Sears Tower, whatever it is, for photo ops rather than actually helping. And again, if the plague into Chicago, Joe, were it to happen, would be very different. It would resemble the National Guard deployment in Los Angeles when they're helping those ice break, which, by
the way, even members of the Marines and the National Guard, what are we doing out here?
And it was bad for morale, taking people away from their families to stand outside a federal building for a photo op when they made absolutely no difference on the ground. That'd be repeated in Chicago, except it would be, just as it did in LA, a chance, Mike, to raise tensions.
Yeah, and Mike, if you look, the Washington Post has a story today. It's like, low-level crime and immigration raids, and in, again, safe areas. It's all for show.
Well,
The DC Police Department has about 3,400 sworn officers on the streets. They're about 400 under where they should be, 3,800, 3,900 in terms of hiring. They can't hire because they're out of money. They're not getting any money from the federal government because the federal government has now employed National Guards people. And to all of our points, especially your point, the one that you raised, if you go down Wheeler Road in Southeast Washington and Anacostia, you're not going to see the National Guard. Right. And those high crime areas, they're not going to be there. And it's a sad case when you have National Guardsmen patrolling streets like in Georgetown or whatever, or central Washington, D.C., which is quite active, quite thriving, restaurants and everything, businesses often those. And now they're strapped with pistols on leg holsters. These are largely weekend people who train maybe once a month. Many of them not from urban areas. Many of them would be frightened by what might happen on the streets. This is a disaster waiting to happen. And the idea of sending the National Guard to Baltimore or Chicago is beyond outrageous for similar reasons.
Well, there's a lot.
I mean, how do you guys feel? Do you think it's going to make those cities safer? Yes or no? Or do they see what happened in DC and that's why people are concerned? Well, you guys, we have been live for almost 2 hours and 50 minutes. What do you think? Do you think Trump is doing an amazing job? Do you think he's doing an amazing job? Let me know in the comments. Yes, he's doing an amazing job. People do not want to give him credit for things he's doing. Do you think certain things are concerning? Let me know in the comments. Are things concerning? Do you see some red flags? Do you feel that there is a dictatorship? Do you think that he's keeping some of these cities on their toes because they know he's looking at those cities? He's looking at those cities and he's evaluating their numbers and what's going on. Do you think he's making these cities be on their toes, the mayors? Let me know in the comments. Okay, you guys, I have some business I have to take care of. We've been live for 2 hours and 50 minutes. I'm glad I did. My numbers were interesting for the last week or two because I took a vacation last week. So I got to get back to the get back. So thank you for all that subscribed. Thank you for all that hit the like button. Continue to subscribe. If you did not subscribe, please hit the subscribe button. I'm back from vacation. It was amazing, but my numbers, got to get back to it. But I'm glad to be back, you guys. I appreciate you for supporting the channel, liking the video, and subscribing. Focus on healthy, safe relationships. Be around people that are loving, kind, and respectful. Enjoy your day. Be blessed. Have a great day, everyone. Be safe. Goodbye. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk About It, Media 21.